Chapter 1376. Are you scared now? No one could understand his feeling where every part of his body was torn apart and reconstructed. That was already beyond the description of heart-wrenching. Anyway, it was extremely lonely and helpless. But this time, he felt a little different. Someone was extending a helping hand to him, and blocked that lightning from the sky without any hesitation. Such a brave and warm act had touched him, and made him feel warm. Looking at the magic attacks and giant black hand that had burst into dazzling fireworks, a smile flashed across Mag's face. Let's make the lightning even more powerful. What's that thing? The demon's combined attack had been easily parried by that lightning from the sky, and even the patriarch's attack was defused. This had shocked all the fear demons. Could Alex be practicing the thunder-type magic? His power is already so scary. Some demons were guessing. The lightning obviously didn't come from them, and Mag, who was in the center of the explosion, wasn't harmed at all. Hence, he should be the one who had caused that. Irina, who was about to go forward, halted her steps and looked at Mag, who was completely unharmed, in surprise. What surprised her even more was that lightning vortex that had suddenly appeared in the sky. She could sense a dangerous form of energy in there. Whoa! Father had gained control of lightning. He's even more formidable than little Ozzy. Amy, who looked worried initially, jumped up in joy. Mag glanced at Bashir, who was shivering from the lightning strike and backing off in a panic. He wasn't in a hurry to finish him off, and instead he looked up at the lightning vortex that began to rumble even more fiercely. Sneering, he said toward the center island, "I'm not targeting all of you. I'm simply saying that fear demons are all rubbish. Alex, you're too much. Don't blame us for bullying you with numbers." A giant squid slowly crawled out of the sea. Tens of thousands of open vertical eyes were emitting a terrifying red light. It was many times bigger than Bashir's squid. Black fog rapidly spread out from the sea's surface and shrouded the entire area. Ear-piercing screams together with bewitching red lights rushed toward Mag. Meanwhile, an extremely old demon in black robes was standing on that squid's head. His bald head was all covered with eyes, and a huge vertical eye was smacked right in the center of his forehead. It was flashing black and red as it stared at Mag. He's more powerful than Benson. Mag judged as soon as he glanced at that fear demon. The fear demons had maintained their status as the #1 most powerful demon tribe for very good reasons. Just the power of this fear demon patriarch alone could have ranked among the top 5 powerhouses on the Norland continent. Even Alex at his peak wouldn't have the confidence that he could definitely win. As for Mag now, he was merely a weakling who still hadn't advanced to the 9th tier. However, Mag wasn't panicked at all. He even felt like laughing. He had deliberately come to their abode to do his test, and the 3 lightning strikes earlier had proven one thing. As long as he controlled the tempo of the battle well, the test would be his weapon. Let's forget about life and death. Just do it. Hence, Mag gave that fear demon patriarch his middle finger. Naive child. The fear demon patriarch was indeed angered by Mag's action. That giant squid came riding on the waves, lifting its tentacles hundreds of meters long and smashing them down at Mag like whips. At the same time, the surrounding black fog suddenly closed in on them, and locked Mag and the purple-striped griffin in like a cage. The other fear demons didn't intend to stand by and watch. They launched their attacks on Mag again. Killing Alex wasn't an easy matter. It was not a shameful matter even when 10th tier powerhouses had to work together. Furthermore, they were in their own territory, who would find out even if they combined their attacks. But killing Alex would bring the fear demon tribe countless benefits and elevate their status among the demons again. They could even regain the status of the leader of the allied demon forces again. Crack! The thunder sounded again, and 6 purplish golden lightning bolts stuck out from the vortex. They struck at the squid and all the fear demons like a long snake. The current lightning was obviously more powerful than the previous one. The giant squid's legs were severed by the lightning, and the terrifying electrical power that spread rapidly throughout the squid's body made it shoot out red beams like a disco light ball. Another lightning bolt struck the black fog that was surrounding them, and it dissipated immediately. Even the fog on the sea's surface retreated. The other 4 lightning bolts struck toward the 4 fear demons that attacked Mag. All the fear demons' faces paled, and they swiftly backed off on their flying steeds. But the lightning was extremely fast, and it caught up with them instantaneously. The bolts struck through the protective black fog and exploded on their bodies. The flying steeds died right on the spot. Those fear demons' entire bodies were also numb. They lost control and fell from the sky onto the islands or into the sea. They couldn't move in that moment. So powerful! Irina exclaimed as she watched this scene in disbelief. The lightning that came from the sky actually obeyed Mag's control. Moreover, it was so powerful that it struck down 4 10th-tier powerhouses at the same time. The fear demon patriarch leaped down from the giant squid's head which had lost control, and backed off rapidly onto the main island as he stared at Mag in shock. That lightning bolts were very weird. They seemed to have originated from the sky and earth, and yet they were controlled by Alex. Even he had to back off. As for Bashir, he was totally terrified now. He backed off rapidly with a completely blank mind in an attempt to stay away from Mag. This fellow was simply too terrifying. He actually challenged the entire Fear Islands on his own, and even the Patriarch had to back off. Bashir, you trafficked elves. You've imprisoned, tortured, and killed them, and you're still not remorseful today. You will hereby be sentenced to the punishment of the lightning strike. Mag looked at Bashir and passed his judgment from above before charging toward Bashir on Ozai. Save me, Patriarch! Bashir shouted in fear. The fear demon Patriarch's face darkened with anger as he raised his right hand. Choppy waves began to appear on the Black Sea's surface as water sprouts rose up from it. Crack! Just then, a loud bang sounded. The lightning spun around crazily, and 9 purplish-golden lightning bolts struck out toward Alex before merging into one in the air swiftly to form one super-gigantic lightning, and crashed down toward Alex and Bashir. The fear demon Patriarch's action froze instantaneously, and the rising water sprouts also froze in midair. According to his experience, if he launched an attack on Alex now, that lightning bolt's target might switch to him. He could sense the presence of danger in that super lightning bolt. Countless demons on the Fear Islands were staring at this scene with their eyes wide open. Boom! Together with a loud bang, purplish gold lightning flashed across the entire local territorial waters, and lit up the entire area. A purple lightning had already dashed out of the range covered by the thunderclouds before the huge lightning struck down. The lightning flash faded away slowly, and a huge crater was already formed in the center of that explosion. There was a charred body there, and it crumbled into a pile of white dust. Meanwhile, Mag, who was standing in the middle of the huge crater, arranged his mask, and pressed down on his standing hair. He sighed. I even struck myself when I got angry. Are you scared now? Bashir had already turned to dust. No one believed he could have survived such a thunderstorm. Even the Patriarch had to avoid that terrifying lightning. But Alex wasn't only alive, he was even unharmed. The electricity was sparkling at the end of his hair, making a crackling sound. This man who was just like a thunder god left an indelible mark in all the fear demons' hearts. Scared? They were really scared. Father is so suave. Amy was also looking at Mag in surprise with glowing eyes. She was right. Father was indeed super formidable. He simply chose to stay in the kitchen usually to maintain a low profile. When did he learn how to control the lightning? From little Ozai? Irina's face was full of shock. At the same time, she felt relieved and her lips curled up, but her eyes began to narrow as she looked at Mag. How many secrets is he keeping from me? Mag held his sword with one hand, and then grabbed Ozai's scale when it came back after flying one round. He landed on the griffin's back lightly before heaving a sigh of relief secretly. God knew how he had overcome the numbness in his body at that moment to change into that set of equipment after he was struck by the lightning. He even had to pose in a cool position to cover up the fact that he couldn't move at all. The lightning vortex in the sky that was flashing with purplish gold lightning wasn't gone yet, and it made the fear demons afraid and desperate. Bashir is dead, and now I'm going to bring all the elves he enslaved away. Do you have any objections? Mag said to the fear demon patriarch robustly in a top-down manner on the griffin's back. The fear demon patriarch was looking at Mag with dozens of red vertical eyes that gave angry red light. The sea surface that had calmed down slightly began to have crushing waves. The great-grandson that he had spent countless efforts grooming was killed right in front of him like that. How dared a human threaten their entire fear demon tribe? How could he tolerate and accept such humiliation? The other 4 10th-tier demons who were struck down by the lightning took to the sky again. Although the numbness caused the lightning wasn't gone completely, if the patriarch wanted them to fight to their deaths, they could still fight it out. They, too, were looking at Mag with a furious gaze. If you have any objections, swallow them down. Right at this moment, a beam of holy light came from afar and exploded on the Fear Islands. The pure light beam made the islands as bright as day instantaneously. A chilling voice could be heard simultaneously too. Irina walked out of the holy light slowly like a goddess of light as she looked down on the fear demons coldly with a cold aggressiveness in her eyes. Irina! All the fear demons were shocked. Even the fear demon patriarch's gaze flickered, and he halted his hand that was raised halfway. Actually, all the rumors concerning Alex recently had always mentioned Irina with him. It would have been weird if Irina hadn't come along with him, because he'd come for the elves specially. Just Alex alone had made a fool of them. With Irina added into the picture, even if they could make them stay on the Fear Islands forever, the Fear Demon tribe would have to pay a horrible price. They had already lost a young 10th-tier powerhouse tonight. If they were to lose another 1 or 2 10th-tier powerhouses, their status as the number 1 demon tribe would be stolen by the chivalrous who had been eyeing it for a long time. Even those demon tribes whose ranking was way lower would be able to surpass them. All the fear demons' gazes became shifty. Although the humiliation of being challenged right at their doorstep was hard to tolerate, comparatively, losing their status among the demon tribes and their power right before the species peace renegotiation was what the fear demons couldn't even accept. All of them looked at the fear demon patriarch. The fear demon patriarch looked at Mag and Irina with a flickering gaze. He was the overlord of the demon islands for hundreds of years, but this was the first time that the fear demons were so humiliated. However, regardless of how tyrannic they were, they still had their own territories. But Alex and Irina were different. One of them had turned his back on the Roth Empire, while the other turned her back on the Wind Forest. They were just like a pair of untraceable pirates without any scruples, but they were so powerful that no one could ignore them. They were simply the ultimate scoundrels. The fear demon patriarch's face contorted before he said through clenched teeth, "Let them go." The water sprouts that were rising above the sea crashed back down into the sea, and the giant squid's tentacles that extended out of the waters were retrieved slowly too. All the demons heaved a breath of relief as they returned to the island. They continued to stare at Mag and Irina with a wary gaze. Irina went to the island that Bashir belonged to, and hovered above it, glowing with a golden beam. She looked at those elves who were brought out of the hall by the fear demons. There were about 300 of them, and most were young maidens. They all had some kinds of injuries on their bodies. The worst one even lost her arm. It looked like some wild animal had bitten it off. Mag rode the griffin and circled around the island, watching those demons with alertness. The elven maidens still had no idea what was happening after they were brought out of the hall. Some of them were huddled together in fear. "All of you don't have to be afraid. I am Irina. Bashir is dead. I came to bring all of you away," Irina said to the elves as gently as possible. "Princess Irina." All the elves looked toward the voice, and saw Irina shrouded by the holy light like a goddess. Their tears flowed controllably. Bashir was dead. Had their lives as slaves ended at that very moment? The elves still found that unbelievable. That demon who controlled their life and death in every aspect was really killed? I want a giant flying steed too, Irina said to the fear demon patriarch as she turned toward him. Don't ask for too much, Irina. The patriarch's face tightened with anger. A beam of light swept across the buildings below, and the hall of skeletons and the fear demons began to dissolve at the same time. They let out horrible shrill screams. I have always paid it back 10 times for my vengeance, Irina said coldly. The fear demon patriarch's chest rose and fell rapidly. Finally, he clenched his teeth, and said, "Give it to them." Soon, a giant seagull took off from the main island, landed in front of those elves, and lowered itself. All the elves quickly got onto that giant seagull with a 100-meter wingspan. It accommodated 300 elven maidens easily. Irina landed on the head of that seagull, and coldly commanded, "Take off." Even though she wasn't a beastmaster, her scary aura of a 10th-tier powerhouse made the seagull submit easily. It spread its wings and took off slowly before leaving. "Don't try to tail us. I promise I am much faster than any of you," Mag said meaningfully. He circled around the islands once before picking up Amy and followed after the seagull, leaving the Fear Islands behind. "Patriarch, do we need to go after them?" a fear demon asked softly after a long period of silence. "Are you going?" The fear demon patriarch glanced at that demon. That demon instantaneously snapped his head back. "Father, you're so formidable. You defeated all the bad guys alone on your own." Amy switched her sitting position and looked at Mag with adoration. "Really?" Mag replied calmly, but he was feeling great as he took in the little one's adoring gaze. "Really, really? Just the god of thunder." Crack, crack. And the baddies were all struck down by lightning. "You're so suave." Amy nodded her head with glowing eyes. Smiling, Mag said, "Oh, I see. If Amy likes it, Father will show that to you again when we encounter the bad guys again." "Father, I want to learn that. Using lightning to strike people." Amy gazed at Mag expectantly. Mag was stunned. It'd gotten a little out of hand now. He couldn't be asking the system to strike him with lightning every day, right? Furthermore, he had no idea how to control lightning at all, so how could he teach Amy? "Do you not want to teach me, Father?" "Do you think that Amy is stupid?" Amy pouted with an aggrieved expression. "How could that be? Little Amy is the most talented magic caster," Mag swiftly consoled her as he rubbed the skin between his eyes. He had caused trouble for himself for acting smart, so now he wondered how he should go about solving this matter. Suddenly, Mag had an idea. Smiling, he said, "Actually, Ozzy taught me this. If little Amy wants to learn, you can learn from Ozzy." "Little Ozzy?" Amy turned around and hugged Ozzy around its neck as she smiled. "Great! Little Ozzy, you must teach me how to control lightning in the future." Ozzy turned around and stared at Mag with its huge eyes in disbelief. "I'm sorry, mate. I need someone to take the responsibility." Mag sighed in his heart before nodding with a smile. "You see, Ozzy has agreed." Ozzy widened his eyes even more. Mag returned to the restaurant with Amy in advance. Ozzy landed on the balcony gradually, and Mag leaped off the griffin's back with Amy in his arms. Just as they were about to go downstairs, he heard the sounds of someone trying to smash in the door and a low voice saying, "Open the door, B*TCH. If you make us break the door down, we are going to make your life hell." I will never open the door," Jane spoke in a quivering voice. He could hear the fear in her voice. "Seems like some baddies are trying to break into the restaurant." Amy's eyes lit up. She already took out her magic caster's staff as she leaned on her toes and looked down over the balcony. "Two foolish robbers." Mag leaned over to take a look. Two 5th-tier demons were smashing the door crazily with a heavy log. However, the restaurant was equipped with a 9th-tier automatic defense system. An attack of such level couldn't even trigger the rebound effect. If he soundproofed the restaurant, they could be smashing at the door for the rest of their lives, and the door would be still fine. "Father, let me take care of these two baddies. I'm going to save Big Sister Goldie-Horn," Amy said. "Go ahead." Mag nodded with a smile. Amy was a full-fledged 6th-tier close combat ranged magic caster now. She could easily handle 2 5th-tier demons. Moreover, Ozzy was watching close by. He could take this time to go have a bath and change his clothes. "Damn! Why is this stupid door so sturdy?" a demon said angrily, with steam coming out from his head. "Yay, right! It's just a lousy wooden door, and yet we simply can't smash it open." The other demon wiped away the sweat on his face. He thought he could enter the door quickly, grab the money, and have some fun before getting away. In the end, all his actions were stopped at the part of entering the door. In the restaurant, Jane was using her weak body to prop up the door, and was shivering because of fear. Her gaze was fixed on the staircase. "Don't Boss and Lady Boss hear the sounds down here? Why aren't they coming down yet? If they are already asleep, then I shouldn't let them in all the more." As a local born and bred demon on Carapace Island, Jane knew very well what those demons out there wanted to do. "Dear, I feel that we should do something. Boss Hades is a good man," Yvonne said to Gamina with a grave expression in the adjacent house. He was holding a thick rock club in his hands. "I think so too," Justin agreed. He, too, was holding a smaller rock club. Gamina grasped Ivan's hand as she said in a low voice, "I know Boss Hades is a good man too, but how are you going to help them? You are simply a stone man who had just advanced to the 4th tier. Those two out there are 5th-tier demons. How are you going to fight against them? Are you trying to win a good name with your life? Then what is going to happen to me and our child?" Yvonne became silent. He looked at Justin, who was looking up at him, and his gaze became resolved immediately. Next, he patted Gamina's hand, which was grasping his arm, before hugging her tightly, and said to Justin, "Justin, if I don't make it back, you'll have to take care of your mom like a grown man." After that, he walked to the door, pushed it open, and yelled, "You two door-busting bastards, why don't you scram now? Do you want me to bust your heads open?" Before Yvonne could finish speaking, a petite figure had already descended from the sky and busted open the heads of those two demons. It only took one strike to shatter their skulls. Bored, Amy jumped back 2 steps to avoid the fresh blood that was sputtering out from the skulls before turning her head to look at Yvonne, who was holding a club with his mouth wide open. She shrugged, and apologetically said, "I'm sorry, Uncle Yvonne. I didn't realize you wanted to bust open their heads too. Did I snatch the heads away from you?" Yvonne stared at the tiny Amy with his eyes and mouth wide open. "Yup, this little one who killed the 2 5th-tier demons with one strike was Boss Hades' daughter. I. Yvonne felt he had to be dreaming if he didn't see wrongly. The 4-year-old daughter of the boss next door had busted open the heads of 5th-tier demons. He didn't even dare to dream of such terrible dreams usually. Is he dazed? Amy looked at Yvonne, a little puzzled. Yvonne reached out to pinch his thigh. The sensation of pain went through layers of thick rock shells and into his brain clearly. It almost made him toss the club away. He was sure that he wasn't dreaming, and the 2 dead demons' bodies on the ground really existed. He swiftly shook his head. It's fine. That's good then. Amy nodded. She skipped over the puddle of fresh blood and knocked on the door with her magic caster's staff as she shouted, "Come out to wash the floor, Big Sister Goldie-Horn." Chapter 1379. Did Uncle Hades and his family come from the stars? Jane was hesitating if she should open the door. "Big Sister Goldie-Horn, I've already killed those 2 baddies. I'm coming in now." Amy's voice sounded again. Jane quickly went to the windows to look outside. Amy was indeed standing in the yard, and there were two black figures lying on the ground. Although it wasn't clear, they should be the two demons who were banging on the door. Those two demons were actually killed by I? Jane covered her mouth in disbelief. I was so young, so why was she so powerful? However, after making sure Amy was behind the entrance, Jane swiftly opened the door. Once the door was opened, the scent of blood washed over her. The two demons lying on the ground already had their heads busted open. Blood was flowing everywhere and dyeing the ground red. Jane's stomach tumbled, and she could feel her stomach acid coming up. However, she quickly asked Amy with concern, why are you out there? Are you hurt? It's fine. I jumped down from up there. Those two idiots couldn't have injured me. Amy shook her head with a smile. You're so formidable, Jane said sincerely, but she swiftly thought that since Boss and Lady Boss were so formidable, I naturally should be too. My father is the real formidable one, Amy said smilingly. Now, what should we do with these two fellows? If the people from Ten Kings Palace find out, Jane looked at the two dead demons worriedly. Just leave them here. After all, we're going to leave soon. Mag, who had changed his clothes after the bath, walked out of the restaurant. Boss. Jane's eyes lit up as if she had found her support beam. Jane, I appreciate your help, Mag said apologetically. Leaving her alone in the restaurant had caused her distress for nothing. It's nothing, Jane shook her head embarrassedly. She didn't do anything. If she thought about it now, even if she had done nothing and simply sat back and watched, those two demons could never have broken in. Then, all her screaming earlier, was really embarrassing. Yvonne, thank you. Mag gestured to Yvonne. I really didn't do anything. Yvonne put down the rock club and scratched his head embarrassedly. His 4-year-old daughter was more powerful than him, so this boss Hades wasn't any normal demon. He wasn't someone of their level. We're leaving tonight. There's nothing I could give you, so I'll just give you this wok. Mag went to the yard, lifted a big wok with one hand, and gently tossed it to Yvonne. Yvonne caught that big wok clumsily. He was a little dazed. Why were they leaving such good business behind? Leaving? Jane's heart fell, and she clenched her fists instinctively. Would they bring her along if they were leaving? She liked the restaurant and boss's family. She was afraid that she had to wander around on Carapace Island again. There are a few Ten Kings Palace demons buried in the yard. They will most probably be discovered after we left. To prevent your family from taking the blame for us, you might have to move, Mag said apologetically. Ivan's eyes widened. What the heck was burying a few Ten Kings Palace demons? At first, he was still very curious why the Ten Kings Palace had never sought trouble with II Crayfish Restaurant when they were so high profile. And he had the answer now. It wasn't that Ten Kings Palace didn't come and look for their trouble. It was because the demons who came were all buried. What an aggressive solution! Yvonne couldn't believe that he had been living next to such terrifying neighbors, and he had tried to risk his life for them. I'm sorry that we've disrupted your life, Mag apologized again. It's fine. We have already planned to leave anyway. We just have to bring our plans forward. Yvonne shook his head. Compared to the tyrannical Ten Kings Palace, he would rather believe that Hades and his family were the good people. Then I will wish you guys good luck. Perhaps one day I will go to Rock Island to try the crayfish that you cook. Mag smiled. I'll give it my best. Yvonne nodded gravely, and then walked to his house with the big wok on his back. Moving house wasn't a simple affair. For their safety, they would be leaving tonight. Mag kicked the bodies of those two demons onto the road before activating the flight mode of the restaurant, and it started washing on its own. The blood and hidden oil stains were swiftly cleansed. Beams of light began to appear outside the restaurant, and lit up the entire restaurant. Whoa! Amy looked at this scene with amazement. The glowing restaurant was so beautiful. Mag turned around to Jane. Jane, we're going to go home. Are you willing to come with us? I have another restaurant in Chaos City. If you come with us, you can continue to be a service staff member there. If you're not willing to, and have a place that you want to go, you can tell me too, and I will send you there. I'm willing. Jane, who had kept her head lowered, swiftly looked up with teary eyes. The boss wasn't going to leave her behind. She was able to leave here with them. Mag felt his heart soften. This maiden indeed had a rough few years. He said in a gentler voice, "Go upstairs and have a good sleep. We will be at a new place tomorrow morning." But, the ground, Jane looked at the blood-stained ground. "Leave the washing to me." Mag waved his hand, and made Jane go upstairs to rest. The auto-cleaning quickly concluded, and the exterior of the restaurant looked brand new again. Mag brought Amy into the restaurant, switched off all the exterior lighting, and clicked onto the flight mode. The restaurant silently adjusted its mode. Then, flames shot up and it ascended into the sky rapidly. "Let me tell you this. Boss Hades and his family are going to move." Ivan and his family walked out their door and saw the restaurant glow and ascend into the sky before disappearing into the horizon. Only shattered rocks were left where II restaurant was standing earlier. Did Uncle Hades and his family come from the stars? Justin gulped. Maybe. Ivan nodded. He took a look at half of the head that popped up in the messy yard and patted Gamina, who was still looking skyward. "Dear, I think let's just leave our things behind and go right now." "It's Princess Irina." Elation flashed across the elves' faces. They no longer hesitated, and proceeded to board the mobile restaurant via the escalator. The escalator was retrieved, and a fireball was thrown out from the aircraft, landing on the empty ship. It burst into sky-high flames and slowly sunk into the sea. Meanwhile, the mobile restaurant flashed and disappeared from the sea. The mobile restaurant was enlarged over 10 times by Mag. The first floor had become a big banquet hall, and it ensured that all 600 elves had a seat. The elves who had just gone through hell were fairly uncomfortable when they were suddenly thrust into the opulent banquet hall, sitting on soft and comfortable chairs. Furthermore, that horrible experience made them wary and distant from everyone instinctively. Hence, the banquet hall was plunged into a very oppressive silence. Amy crouched on the railings on the second floor, and perplexedly asked, "Why aren't these elven big sisters talking?" "Because they don't know how to start talking. Whatever they say is going to hurt," Irina replied softly. The elven princess had saved many elves before. She couldn't look at their numb and hopeless gazes, and had no idea how to console them. She could only let time dilute their painful memories. They should be hungry now. "Why don't I make dinner for them?" Mag could see that all the elves who were sitting up properly were emaciated. For so many people. Irina looked at Mag. "Even Ferris can cook for all the night elves. This crowd is only a piece of cake for me." Mag walked to the kitchen with a relaxed expression. He had just advanced to the 9th tier, and had nowhere to release the peak 9th tier energy in his body. So, cooking a meal was nothing. 3 big pots of congee with pork and century egg were simmering right now. This was easy and quick to cook, so they could eat that first to stave away the hunger. The potatoes and chicken pieces were flying everywhere. 600 helpings of braised chicken and rice were in preparation. This would be filling. Then, Mag began to play with mud. Chickens that were coated with mud were placed into a super big oven in racks. 600 beggars' chickens would be the finale. They would experience the blissfulness of being so full with delicacies. Of course, the main point was that Mag still owed Lantist 5,000 mud casings. He was already planning in his head about holding a beggar's chicken banquet after he got back so he could gather all mud casings at the same time. The congee with pork and century egg was the first to be served. Jane pushed a 5-layer food trolley that was fully filled into the banquet hall carefully. The aroma slowly spread out together with the steam. The elves all began to look up in the oppressive and quiet banquet hall. They began to search for the aroma curiously. The originally tolerable sense of hunger suddenly became more intense. Their stomachs began to growl uncontrollably. "This is your dinner. Could all of you line up and get your meals by yourselves?" Jane said loudly, and parked the trolley next to the table at the door. The elves were a little hesitant. This method of food distribution was a little innovative to them. "Can I please take a bowl?" the elven maiden sitting next to the trolley asked timidly. "Yes. You may all take a bowl. I will send the trolley next to every table. However, due to the large number, I need you to take the bowls for yourself." Jane nodded. She discovered the restaurant had completely changed after she was called out of her room. This was the first time she had seen so many elves. The elves were indeed as beautiful and graceful as they were mentioned to be in legends. That elven maiden picked up a bowl of congee with pork and century egg hesitantly, and placed it in front of her before she gently said, "Thank you." When the other elves saw this, they began to collect their congee with pork and century egg orderly. Trolley after trolley of congee with pork and century egg was sent to the banquet hall by Jane and distributed to the elves. The air was filled with the beautiful aroma of the congee with pork and century egg. The elves fed the congee with pork and century egg into their mouths, and the beautiful taste blossomed in the mouth. The warm feeling even instantly spread all over the body. What a blissful feeling, as if they had just fallen into a warm embrace. They had already forgotten when was the last time that they had normal food, and how it felt to enjoy good food gracefully while sitting in front of a dining table. But they all remembered that in that instant. They were the noble and graceful elves. They were the children of nature. They were a species that loved freedom. Even after going through terrible ordeals, imprisonment, and desperation, freedom and pride were still engraved in their bones. Tears began to glisten at the corners of many elves' eyes. They were still eating their congee with pork and century egg quietly with their heads lowered. However, their faces were no longer dismal. Instead, their expressions began to brighten up. Before they could finish the congee with pork and century egg, the braised chicken and rice was sent into the banquet hall. If one described the aroma of congee with pork and century egg as light and elegant, then the aroma of the chicken soup, whose freshness was elevated to the extreme by the shiitake mushroom, could be described as invasive. Even after they had eaten a bowl of congee with pork and century egg, the elves still gulped when they smelled the aroma of the chicken soup. Meat was a very extravagant thing to them, and they hadn't smelled delicious chicken soup for a long time. The golden pieces of chicken were all completely even, and the potatoes were soft yet still maintained their structural integrity. The asparagus was crisp and green, while the bell peppers of different colors embellished the dish like a work of art. The thick golden broth of the braised chicken was catching and reflecting the light, yet it didn't appear to be greasy in the slightest. The entire dining hall was filled with the rich aroma of chicken and shiitake mushrooms, and one couldn't help but salivate just from looking at it. The evenly sliced cubes of chicken had perfectly absorbed the flavor of the condiments and broth, and the elves were now putting the pieces of the delectable chicken into their mouths. The chicken was enshrouded in delicious broth, and the incredible flavor instantly set the elves' taste buds alight, completely enthralling them in the process. After biting into the cubes of chicken, the elves discovered that the texture of the meat was extremely tender, and the flavor of the condiments and shiitake mushrooms had completely seeped into the meat, elevating its flavor to a whole new level. Even after swallowing the mouthful of chicken, a fragrant aroma lingered in their mouths. The blissful feeling brought upon by this scrumptiousness finally made the elves reveal a bright smile. Praises began to erupt slowly and broke the oppressive silence. There were interactions between the elves now as they attempted to get to know one another. Good food would indeed heal everything. "For example, my hungry stomach," Amy murmured unclearly with her mouth stuffed with the braised chicken and rice that nobody knew where she had gotten from. Yet, filling them up with beautiful things was indeed the best healing method. Irina nodded, and her gaze became gentler too. Ding! A crisp sound of the bell attracted the attention of the elves, who were already rather full. A handsome man pushed a trolley in, and slowly walked from the door. Round golden balls that resembled giant eggs were placed on the trolley. "Greetings, everyone. I am the chef of tonight's banquet, Mag. I am honored to cook for all of you. I will be serving all of you tonight's last dish, beggar's chicken." Mag smiled and took out a small wooden hammer with a pointed end. "So he is the chef. I didn't expect it was a human who cooked such scrumptious food. He's really formidable. Is there a chicken in that egg? It's so special." All the elves were looking at Mag with gratitude and anticipation. The scrumptious congee with pork and century egg and braised chicken and rice had completely won them over. Mag picked up the little wooden hammer, and knocked gently on the mud casing. Crack! A crisp crack sounded, and cracks appeared on the mud casing before it opened up to the sides like a lotus flower, and revealed the golden brown beggar's chicken inside. A rich aroma seeped out immediately, and soon drifted all over the banquet hall. "Smells so good!" All the elves' eyes lit up. This aroma was completely different from the braised chicken's aroma. It was a kind of crispy aroma that made them want to swallow their saliva. "Please enjoy." Mag placed that beggar's chicken gently in front of the elven maiden who sat the closest to him with a smile. "Thank you." The elven maiden rose to her feet, feeling honored and surprised. Then, she bowed to Mag with the elven's etiquette. She could feel respect and equality. "Please don't mention it." Mag nodded with a smile. He then proceeded to open the second mud casing, and placed it in front of the next elf. The elven maiden tore off a drumstick gracefully, and then bit into it. The crispy skin fell away easily, and the tender chicken meat melted in her mouth. A taste that belonged to chicken's tenderness and freshness exploded instantly, and the taste buds surrendered immediately. She couldn't even chew till she was satisfied before it glided down her throat like a naughty chick. Tender and not dry, coupled with a unique taste. This unexpected delicate taste swept her into a scrumptious vortex. The tender chicken meat that resembled the nourishing and silent spring rain made her want to moan. "Oh, this darn scrumptious! I have already eaten 5 days of spicy hot pot, and have diarrhea every day, but I still have to eat spicy hot pot the following day. Don't you think that is sad?" Harrison downed a big mug of beer in one gulp, and then slumped into the chair with a hopeless expression. "You've been f***ing dragging me to eat with you every day. I am as f***ing miserable as you. How could I not know?" Trj rolled his eyes. "Your duck intestines are going to get overcooked," the people at the next table reminded them. "No," the two of them swiftly jumped up from their chairs, and scooped up the duck intestines that they had accidentally lost in the red soup that was full of floating chilies. They could only eat a bowl of the congee with pork and century egg when they came to Mamie restaurant in the morning. They even closed the doors in the afternoon. Only when night came could the steaming hot pot and aromatic beef kebabs console and satisfy their stomachs that had been starving. However, when compared to the full menu of delicacies when Boss Mag was around, that made people feel miserable. No matter how delicious the spicy hot pot was, they couldn't be eating it every day. "Miss Mia, when is Boss Mag going to come back?" Although the hot pot that Miss Rena made is as delicious as Boss Mag's, it still makes us sad that we can't have scrumptious food during breakfast and lunch, Harrison said to Yabimiya miserably. All the customers began to look over too. They realized they couldn't do without Boss Mag after he had left for these few days. They missed him at every meal in the days without him. I want to know that too." Yabimiya shrugged helplessly. God knew how difficult it was to handle all those customers who had gone crazy because they didn't get to eat their delicacies. She wanted her boss to return more than anyone else so the restaurant could get back to normal. The customers all sighed after hearing that. They had heard such a reply many times. Boss Mag, who had gone out to search for ingredients and inspirations, was not back yet. "I hope Boss Mag can bring new surprises to us after this trip. Otherwise, I will never forgive him," a maiden said with conviction, patting her ample bosom. After some thought, she added, "Unless he lets me have a second helping of tofu pudding." Everyone nodded. To them, Boss Mag presenting them with a new dish after his return would most probably be their only consolation. What kind of new dish would it be this time? Uncle Mag has left for 5 days to search for inspiration and ingredients, so it must be a great dish, Anna said softly. He has never disappointed us before. I guess he won't disappoint us this time, either. Shirley revealed a smile. The city lord's castle, in the secret chamber. An urgent piece of news just came from the Fear Islands. Alex and Irina have broken into the Fear Islands. Alex challenged the Fear Islands alone with Weird Lightning. He killed Bashir and rescued the 300 elven maidens who were imprisoned by him. Michael passed the secret missive to Roland, who hadn't even taken his seat. Roland read through that missive carefully, and his usually solemn facial muscles twitched. With a slightly weird expression, he said, Boss Mag's current trip to search for inspirations and ingredients was really not peaceful at all. That's right. Judging from the timeline, they were most probably the ones who caused Alfred and Simmons to perish together on that island for no rhyme nor reason, and then the subsequent battle between the Abyss Demons and the Flaming Demons. Michael nodded with conviction. Seems like the ingredients that Boss Mag was searching for were seafood. The destruction of the Ten Kings Palace on Carapace Island and the mysterious disappearance of all the tribe's representatives in the air near the Abyss Demons and Flaming Demons battlefield. I suspect they were involved in all of this. The two of them have messed up the waters of the demons in simply a few days. Nobody knows when the war between the Abyss Demons and the Flaming Demons will end. The other tribes are wrangling among themselves. The Fear Demons, who have lost a 10th tier powerhouse, are starting to worry about the challenge that could arise from the Chivalrous. The pro-war alliance of the demons is already in tatters. Basically, they wouldn't be able to establish a united front before the peace renegotiation, and the war threat from the demons is temporarily removed. They have done what we always wanted to do but decided not to because of all the things that could have gone wrong in the scenario planning. This is simply unbelievable, Michael said with a marvelous expression. Alex and Irina always do unbelievable stuff when they are together. Roland nodded in agreement. They have once again contributed to this world's peace. Although we can't provide too much assistance for them, we could at least remove some of the imperfections for them. For example, they were still in Chaos City during Alfred and Simmons' duel. The Grey Temple is very good at such matters. Roland chuckled as he walked to the door. Looking at the elves who were burping with satisfaction, Mag smiled. I am very honored to serve this dinner. Please have a rest now, and we will arrive in Chaos City soon. Princess Irina has already arranged your accommodations, and you will be staying together with the Night Elves. All the elves bowed to Mag to express their appreciation. The gloominess on their faces was already gone. The blissful feeling brought about by the delicacies and the satisfaction of a full stomach had brightened up all their expressions. Many of the elves had even made new friends. Once upon a time, they were aloof too, but now they needed a friend whom they could depend on and pour out their woes to. Furthermore, heading to Chaos City and joining the Night Elves meant the start of a new phase in their lives. Anticipation was already written across many of Elves' faces. Thank you, Irina said to Mag, who had gone up to the second floor to remove his apron, with her hands behind her back. It's my pleasure. Mag rubbed away the grease at the corner of her mouth as he smiled at her. Is the beggar's chicken nice? Irina took out the half-eaten drumstick behind her back since she was found out, and put it in front of Mag. There you are. Try it yourself. Mag took a bite and smiled. The beggar's chicken I made is indeed that finger-licking good. Father, try mine too. Mine is super delicious too. Amy tugged on Mag's clothes as she tiptoed and struggled to pass the drumstick to Mag. All right, all right. I'll taste Amy's drumstick. Mag took a bite of the drumstick that Amy pushed over with a smile and then nodded. Amy's drumstick is very scrumptious too. Then, is my drumstick nicer or is Mother's drumstick nicer? Amy continued to ask. Irina's beautiful eyes were also looking at Mag. Mag cocked an eyebrow. Why were they asking him to make such a difficult yet blissful choice? Chapter 1382. Oh, this darned holy light. The dormitory that had its lights switched off quickly lit up. Arrows began to aim at the mobile restaurant and the people down below. It's me. Irina lifted her hand. A beam of light lit up and shone upon her and the 600 elves. It's the princess. Keep your arrows, the captain ordered, and all the archers retrieved their arrows. Mag waved at Irina from the mobile restaurant, and Irina nodded slightly. The ladder was kept gradually, and the mobile restaurant disappeared in a flash. It appeared above Mamie restaurant almost at the same time. Its ladder was lowered, and Mag walked down with the sleeping Amy and Ugly Duckling in his arms. It was already 12 a.m. The restaurant was long closed, and Gina should be asleep. Is this Chaos City? Jane followed Mag out from the mobile restaurant, and looked around curiously. She could see a very big square under the moonlight, but she couldn't see what was further away. She could only see many houses vaguely. This was a big city, a city that was much bigger than Carapace Island. Follow me downstairs, Jane. I will arrange your accommodation for you, Mag said to Jane briefly before carrying Amy downstairs and putting her on the bed. He removed her shoes and covered her with a blanket before installing Jane in Amy's playroom. He gave her a mattress to sleep on the floor. Mag didn't like having people sleeping in his bed, and the study wasn't conducive for sleeping. Hence, he could only let Jane sleep in Amy's playroom for a night before letting her go over to the dormitory tomorrow. It's a little shabby. I'll change a room for you tomorrow. Please make do for tonight, Mag said to Jane apologetically. It's fine. It's fantastic here. Moreover, there are so many interesting things here. Jane looked at all the surrounding toys curiously. Her gaze landed on the swing at the corner, and she couldn't stop staring at it. You may play with it if you want to. Little Amy is very generous. Mag looked at the swing. That should be rare on Carapace Island. Jane blushed and responded with a very soft voice. Good night then. Mag walked out of the room. Boss, are you really not a demon? Jane asked, looking at Mag's back. Yes. I am Mag, the boss of Mamie restaurant. Just like what we promised earlier, forget whatever happened on Carapace Island and start a new life again here, Mag replied with a smile. About Lady Boss, only the four of us know about this. I hope you can keep that a secret before I can make everything public. I understand. Jane nodded seriously. Although she couldn't really understand why Boss wanted to conceal his relationship with Lady Boss, she knew what to say and what not to say. Have an early rest. You have had a rough day too. Mag closed the door for Jane before returning to the balcony to get the imp mother and her servant down. Even though they were starved for a few days, the imp mother looked even more attractive with a kind of frail beauty. She tried her best to make eyes at Mag, attempting to seduce him. But that was useless on Mag. He gave them a slap each to render them unconscious before throwing them into the little black hut on the balcony. Irina would decide what to do with them when she returned. As the female dependents, these two didn't deserve to die. However, if they simply let them off, people with ulterior motives would definitely discover some clues through them, and it wouldn't be good for Mag and co. Mag didn't mind killing them to silence them. After all, the imp mother was on par with a succubus. He wouldn't dare to put a ticking time bomb like this who wanted to seduce him every day nearby. He was a man, after all. What if he got a little drunk one day? Mag didn't want to ever explain to Irina about some drunk story on a rainy night. If all the men in the world were as woke as me, there would be no jerks at all, Mag lamented as he shut the little black hut's door. Oh really? Irina asked Mag smilingly as she appeared on the balcony. Ahem. Mag cleared his throat before rather awkwardly saying, why are you back so early? Ashley will get them settled in. After all, the dormitory and stuff are already there, I don't have to be there to monitor it, Irina said. Oh, yes. What do we do about Simon's mistress and her guard? Asked Mag, pointing to the little black hut at the side. Let's bury them. It's easy. Irina didn't give them much thought. Mag murmured. Then why did we bring them back? You've got to ask yourself that. There was a hint of judgment in Irina's eyes. I'm wronged, Mag was confused. What was this? Irina burst out laughing after seeing Mag's expression. After some thought, she said, never mind. Get them to sign a contract and then chuck them into the factory to keep the furnace burning. We will release them after the situation simmers down. Bravo, dear. Mag put up his thumb. Making a delicate imp mother go shovel coal to keep the furnace burning. Only Irina was capable of coming up with this idea. Of course, he agreed with that unconditionally. He would never dare to disagree. The signing of the contract was very smooth. Under Irina's intense presence, neither Charlene nor the Demoness dared to object. They were already lucky to live, so they didn't care how many unfair clauses were listed on that contract, and how they would be sent to keep the furnace burning. 2 golden beams went into the center of their eyebrows as 2 contracts floated up and burned into ashes in the golden light. The God of Light has already recognized this contract. If you go against the contract, you will be dissolved by the holy light, Irina said to the 2 of them. The 2 demons swiftly nodded. Irina reached out to knock on those circular mud casings, and they disappeared instantly. 2 naked demons appeared in front of Mag. The glaring holy light already lit up as soon as Mag cocked his eyebrow a little. Oh, this darned holy light! Mag left the little black hut of his own accord. Fortunately, he hadn't seen a thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so simple as a glare in his eyes. After a night of good dreams, Mag woke up early next morning. He went downstairs to write a new announcement to replace the original notice on the door, I am Mag. I am back. Mag thought it was too cocky after some thought, so he took the notice back, and added one more sentence, business as usual today. Home is indeed the most comfortable. Mag took a good look at his restaurant. Even the devil's ivy hanging on the railings looked so much nicer. Boss, you're back! Rena exclaimed when she came in through the door and saw Mag standing in the middle of the restaurant. Where is he? Let me have a look. Yabimiya squeezed through, and she immediately got teary eyes when she saw Mag. You're finally back, boss. It's a good thing that I didn't give up. Give up? We could even save some cloth this way. Where's Camilla? Mag asked as his gaze swept across everyone. Only Camilla was missing as even Connie came. Big sister Camilla said she had to make a trip home after you guys left. She's still not back yet. Mia shook her head. Maybe she didn't want to return anymore. Everyone knew Camilla's identity. She was a countess, so spending her days chopping up ingredients in the restaurant every day was indeed a little unbefitting of her status. She's still not back yet. Mag raised his eyebrow. He had already heard about the vampire tribe's incident. It was just that he had no idea what was going on with Camilla now. Now that he thought about it, he should have made a trip to the vampires yesterday. Right at that moment, the restaurant's door was suddenly pulled open, and Camilla leaned against the door as she declared to everyone with a side glance, "Aren't you all surprised? I, Camilla, am back." "Are you escaping from your marriage?" asked Mag smilingly. Camilla's expression changed slightly. Could the news have already spread to Chaos City? She removed the hand that was leaning against the door and walked into the restaurant. With an awkward expression, she said, "Who said that? Do I look like a vampire who needs to escape from a marriage?" "All right, whatever you like." Mag nodded, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. Ferris approached, and expectantly asked, "Boss, is the princess back?" Mag almost blurted out that she was upstairs. Ferris was living in the dormitory, so she most likely didn't know that Irina came back last night. He suddenly realized that Irina had gone out and came back at the same time with him, which would look like they were very synchronized. This would look a little off, so he shook his head. I have no. Just then, Irina came down, and very naturally asked, "Can we have breakfast now? I'm hungry." Everyone looked toward the staircase at the same time. Their gazes locked onto Irina, and then they landed on Mag again after a while. Doubts began to show on their faces. Although Boss and Princess Irina left due to different matters, their return was a little too synchronized. Moreover, why was the way she said she wanted to have breakfast so familiar and natural? "Hey? Princess Irina, did you come back today too? What a coincidence," Mag exclaimed with an exaggerated expression as he winked at Irina. He could already sense the unnatural ambience in the restaurant. The clash of 10 women's sixth senses could result in some rather bad deductions. "Everyone is here. You came to work very early." Irina could also sense the weird atmosphere. However, there wasn't any panic on her face as she continued to walk down slowly. She glanced at Mag before saying in a calm voice, "Do I need to report to you whenever I return? That is the real Princess Irina." All the ladies sensed that powerful queenly presence acutely, and immediately kicked out all those immature ideas from their heads. It was impossible between Boss and Princess Irina, okay? Of course not, Mag was embarrassed. Although Irina defused the situation with one sentence easily, why did he feel rather upset? Even if he couldn't control Irina's movement, he was still the landlord. "Water." Irina raised her eyebrow. Mag attempted to go fetch a glass of water instinctively. Firas quickly went into the kitchen to get a glass of warm water, placed it in front of Irina, and gently said, "Princess, do you need anything else?" "No." Irina took a sip of the water, and said to Firas, "Bean Sprout, thanks for your hard work during this time." "No, I only did a little. See, even your bosom has shrunk. It's even sunken in." Irina looked at Firas' bosom worriedly. Firas glared at Irina. Was that familiar princess back again? Irina looked at her, and consoled, "It's fine. We could even save some cloth this way." "I don't want to save the cloth at all." Firas roared in her heart. Irina's gaze landed on Camilla, who was trying to hide in the corner, and she curiously asked, "Hey, I heard your grass-eating uncle has become the ancestor? Will you vampires become vegetarians in the future?" "We are pure vampires who are specially trained. We will never eat grass," Camilla said gravely. "But Dracula had a good time eating it." Irina smiled. "Unless we are defeated," Camilla added helplessly. Regarding the matter of Dracula eating grass, she had seen that with her own eyes. That scene was rather refreshing. Although the reputation of the vampires did suffer a little because of that, she didn't hate Irina for it, because becoming a powerful woman who could do as she wished was her aspiration. Furthermore, even Uncle Dracula himself wasn't angry with Irina, and frequently expressed his admiration for her during their conversations. Hence, there wasn't any reason to hate Irina. "Ho ho! Seems like you're rather close to Dracula. You even said what he had said then. But I have split the admission fees with him 80/20ths, so he should be rather generous in these few years," Irina said smilingly. "That happened?" Camilla stared as if she had heard something very extraordinary. She didn't expect that incident was actually a collaboration of Uncle Dracula and Irina, and not a coercion. Come to think of it, Uncle Dracula, who had always been known as the most stingy vampire, did indeed become generous suddenly. Mag also cocked an eyebrow. The protagonist's point of view of any historical incidents did, in fact, always sound different from the records. However, this most probably would become a stain in the life of Dracula, who had just become the vampire ancestor. "Speaking of this, aren't you people going to have breakfast?" Irina looked at the clock. She didn't have supper last night, so she was a little hungry now. "Breakfast? Amy is hungry too." Amy leaped out from the staircase with Ugly Duckling in her arms. She dropped Ugly Duckling on a chair, threw herself at Mia and the gang, and happily said, "Big sisters, I missed you all so much." Mia picked Amy up and smiled. We missed Amy too. Amy, your two masters came to the restaurant a few times, Anna whispered. It's all right. I will be going to class later. They must have missed me too much. Those two are making me worried. Amy sighed and lamented maturely. There are so many people. Jane stood at the staircase and looked at all the pretty ladies in the restaurant. She swiftly retreated and clutched her skirt nervously. She didn't know how to make her presence known. Oh, yes. I am going to introduce a new colleague for all of you today. Mag looked at the staircase and smiled. Come out now, Jane. Don't be nervous, big sister Goldie Horn. They are all very nice big sisters. Amy smiled warmly as she went forward to hold Jane's hand. Mia stepped forward, and smilingly asked Jane, what a cute little golden horn. It looks just like a dreamy glass. Can I touch it? Is it cute? Jane's eyes lit up and looked up at Yabimia. She, too, had a pair of golden dragon's horns on her head. She was infected by that energetic smile and nodded smilingly. Mia reached out to touch Jane's horn gently. Its smooth and cold sensation felt just like crystal. However, she quickly retrieved her hand and smiled. Nice to meet you, Jane. I am Yabimia. I should be a few years older than you. You can call me Big Sister Mia. Big Sister Mia, Jane called out gently. Her heart warmed up instantly as if she had gained another friend. How do you do? I am Connie. Can I touch your horn? Connie came up and looked at Jane's horn enviously. Jane nodded with a blush. She didn't know why the horn that always caused her to be teased would be so adored here, but this feeling was really fantastic. I am so envious. Why can't I have a pair of nice-looking horns like this? Connie touched Jane's horn as she twitched her two pinkish-white cat ears. Everyone went up to greet Jane, and the ambience was very harmonious. Mag watched with a smile Jane's face, which was slowly brightening up. He then went into the kitchen to make breakfast for everyone. Today's breakfast would be a sumptuous affair as he wanted to reward the ladies who had worked very hard in his absence. The system had reported the restaurant's earnings in the past few days to him when he returned to the restaurant last night. After deducting the cost, the profit was over 1 million copper coins. Meanwhile, his hard work on Carapace Island had only yielded over 100,000 copper coins. It was already a goose which could lay golden eggs by itself. Mag could even retire right now, and never had to worry about money for the rest of his life. Rena's hot pot and Ferris beef kebabs could already support half of his restaurant whenever he was not around. Mia came to the kitchen's entrance. She saw that Mag was busy cooking, and cautiously asked, "Boss, are you going to release a new dish after your latest ingredients search? The customers already said if you couldn't release a new item that satisfied them, they were going to starve themselves to death at the door." All the ladies were looking at Mag curiously too. He had already broken his record of going out in search of ingredients as he had left for 5 days this time. Don't worry. They will not starve as long as they reach the restaurant's door, Mag calmly replied. He turned around and smiled mysteriously to all the ladies who had curiosity written all over their faces. You all will find out at noon. I guess it would be a very scrumptious delicacy. Yabimia's eyes lit up. Judging from Mag's confident and relaxed expression, everyone would definitely be satisfied. Oh my heavens! Did I see correctly? Boss Mag is back. Yes. You're right. Boss Mag is really back. Oh no. I'm overly excited. I feel a little dizzy now, carry him away. The next person can step up. Don't carry me away, help me up. I still want to eat the Yangzhou fried rice that Boss Mag makes. Outside the restaurant, the customers who had seen the notice had already descended into chaos. The 5 days without Boss Mag made them learn how days felt like years. A wealthy lady raised her arm up into the air, and shouted, "Sisters, we have to make Boss Mag agree to sell us a second helping of tofu pudding today so as to compensate for the loss of our beauty in these 5 days. I agree. Me too. All the ladies in the line began to raise their hands up in agreement. In these 5 days without the tofu pudding's assistance, they felt they had become haggard. Hence, it even cost them their confidence in front of their men. Can you all include me? A man said weakly. Scram! All the women shouted in unison. It was all these men who had stolen their quota. Sometimes they even missed out on it because they were late. At 6:30 am, Mag went out to distribute the love breakfast for the cleaners after his breakfast. How could you be so heartless, Boss Mag? You left me, who is 6 months pregnant, behind. Do you know how sad I am? A pregnant lady with a big stomach accused Mag tearily. Mag Irina, listen to me. Can you see my heart, Boss Mag? No liar. You brought my heart away with you, and now you pretend that you have no idea about it. How could you, mister? Please don't do this. I am a little scared. Mag took 2 steps back and stared at that mister with a beard in horror. Boss Mag, can you see my stomach? Harrison caressed his tummy. That's just fat. Mag said gravely. No, I mean, I have become skinny because of hunger when you are not around. I really couldn't see the difference. Mag shook his head after looking at Harrison's prominent as ever tummy. Mag was really shocked by the customer's crazy enthusiasm after his 5 days of absence. He wondered how Mia and the gang had survived for the past few days. It was indeed very tough on them. Boss Mag, will you release a new item today? Trajay asked Mag bravely even when he was being squashed by the crowd. There will be a new item coming out at noon. Please stay tuned, Mag smilingly answered the question that everyone was very concerned about. Boss Mag, we haven't eaten tofu pudding for days. Can we get a second helping for breakfast? Asked the wealthy lady who was leading the call earlier. One person is only allowed to purchase 1 helping of tofu pudding. However, from today onwards, the supply for tofu pudding at every meal service would increase from 300 bowls to 400 bowls. Mag smiled. There was no way he would agree to a second helping. Everyone was a little disappointed, but they smiled again when they heard about the additional 100 bowls. They now had a better chance at getting a helping of tofu pudding even if they came late. Mag stood on the stairs in front of the restaurant after distributing the cleaners' breakfast. Looking at the customers who had orderly formed 2 long lines again, Mag apologetically said, I'm sorry to have kept you all waiting. But it's all right as you all will get used to it in the future. Scram! The customers roared angrily in unison. They would have thrown rotten eggs and vegetables if they had them. Was this fellow planning to leave them in a lurch in the future too? This is my daughter. Ordinary men are usually worried about not having a wife. But Boss Mag's different. He tried his best not to have a wife, Harrison teased as he happened to witness that scene. Ha! Although Boss Mag is still single, many beautiful maidens are waiting for him to agree. Furthermore, he still has little boss. Trajay chuckled. Stop it. I am jealous. A horse-drawn carriage stopped in front of Mamie restaurant and Gloria stepped out. Her eyes lit up when she saw the customers lining up and discussing something excitedly. She softly murmured to herself, the customers are so happy. Could it be Mr. Mag is back? She came down from the carriage, and instantly attracted many customers' attention. Many regular customers knew this beautiful and graceful young mistress. They heard she was the young mistress of the Moreton family, the granddaughter of the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and the boss of Blue Suede Fashion. Young and successful were probably adjectives used to describe someone like her. Blue Suede Fashion was transformed from a textile factory. In a few short months, it had already become the latest rising star in Chaos City's fashion world and the noble and wealthy ladies' most talk about shop. Apparently, due to the impact of Blue Suede Fashion, many tailors' business had gotten worse. People no longer had to wait for 2-3 years in order to custom make a piece of clothing. Seeing that everyone was looking at her, Gloria smiled, and then proceeded to the end of the line. She had a natural and easy body language. She was wearing a long white down jacket. The vertical lines made the jacket puffy yet not swollen. Visually, it also made her look taller and more slender. The warm down allowed her to get rid of the thick cotton jacket and only wear a thin dress underneath. Gloria's perfect figure displayed the line of the down jacket perfectly. The light and soft texture had gotten rid of the winter heaviness, and presented a different kind of relaxed confidence. This was the new product, down jacket, that Mr. Mag had specially designed for Blue Suede. Gloria had specially come to see if Mag was back so he could check on the sample, and, for promoting the new down jacket at the same time. Wow! Is this Blue Suede's new product? How did they make the cotton jacket so pretty? Oh no! I love it! When is it going to be released? I have to get myself one. Hubby, can I borrow your hand so I can chop it off instead of mine so that I won't go shopping? The eyes of the wealthy ladies in the lines had already widened. The hottest topic in their circles was, when was Blue Suede going to release their latest winter collection? Although stuffing thermal wear underneath the trench coat wasn't a new idea anymore, if Blue Suede could release an official winter wear, it would definitely explode in the Chaos City's wealthy ladies' circle. The white jacket that Miss Gloria was wearing now naturally became everyone's center of attention. Was this Blue Suede's new product? A wealthy lady standing close to Gloria couldn't help asking, "Miss Gloria, may I ask, is this beautiful jacket on you Blue Suede's latest product?" "Yes, it is. This is Blue Suede's latest product that is about to be released soon, the down jacket," Gloria smilingly replied. A commotion broke out in the lines immediately. This news was simply too invigorating. However, what was a down jacket? And how was it different from a cotton jacket? Then, when would it be released? That wealthy lady asked the question that everyone cared most about. Smiling, Gloria answered, "The first batch is already in production. They would most probably be released officially in a week's time." As for the other questions, Gloria declined to answer with the excuse of her inability to give an answer because the new product hadn't been released yet. Keeping a hint of mystery was one of the important strategies of marketing. Mr. Mag said that. "Are you sure you want to go to school with this hairstyle, Amy?" Mag stared at Amy's ponytail that was sticking out right on top of her head like a lightning rod. This was just done by Irina. It was the Teletubbies hairstyle. Amy touched her antennae and nodded. I like this ponytail." "As long as you like it," Mag could sense Irina's gaze, and immediately stopped thinking about retying Amy's hair. Fortunately, his daughter was cute. Even when she had a Teletubbies hairstyle, she was still cuter than the Teletubbies. He pushed the bicycle out, and prepared to send Amy to school. "Good morning, everyone," Amy said with a smile as she jumped out of the door and waved to the customers in the lines. "We missed you, little boss. Little boss is so cute today too." Amy received a warm reception from the customers instantly. Compared to their grievances against Mag, all of them sincerely liked Amy. "Ha! This group of people only like a pretty face." Mag snorted in his heart before placing Amy in the back seat and putting his face in front of Amy, with the crowd watching. "Muag." Amy kissed Mag on his cheek very cooperatively. She then put her hands up in the air, and adorably shouted, "Let's go! Let's set off!" Mag hopped on the bicycle with a smile, and then rode away. "Haha! So what if you all like her? This is my daughter." Yucks! A group of jealous people was left behind. This was the first breakfast after Mag's return. The gloomy atmosphere present in the restaurant for the past few days was slightly alleviated, and even the argument between the savory and the sweet, which had stopped for a few days, was resumed again. It was a pity that there were no WeChat moments in this world. Otherwise, Mag believed everybody's WeChat moments would be flooded with the news of his return this morning. Mag let Jane learn from Mia and assist when things got busy so that she could adjust to the restaurant's work intensity. At the same time, he could observe which job she was suitable for. There are so many people here. Jane stared at the customers who had filled up the interior and the exterior of the restaurant. She had thought II Restaurant was already the busiest restaurant. She had never expected that Mamie Restaurant would be even busier than II Restaurant. The customers were coming and going constantly, and even with many service staff on deck, they were all as busy as a top. She could only assist with some minute tasks. However, compared to Carapace Island, although the customers here came from all different races, they were all very orderly and well-mannered. They didn't speak loudly or put their feet on the chairs, and they only talked to the service staff in a soft voice. One would never see that on Carapace Island. What a beautiful place! It's completely different from the Chaos City that I've imagined, Jane thought, and she began to have new expectations for the future. Chapter 1386 Could you bring me along? No, Jane shook her head. She looked at her hand that was being held by Mia. The warmth that came from her palm made her heart accelerate a little, but it also made her feel safe and warm. Let's go and see the new room that the boss has prepared for you. We will be living together in the future. Mia smiled and they left holding hands, with Elizabeth and the rest accompanying them. Irina went out after breakfast. The night elves needed her to handle some things personally, for example conscripting those elves whom they'd brought back last night into the night elves, baptizing them mentally, and re-establishing their faith and motivation. Hence, only Mag and Gloria were left in the restaurant. Mag made a pot of black tea and sat down opposite of Gloria. He poured a cup of it, and placed it in front of her. The red tea liquid was trembling a little in the cup as the steam rose up. Thank you. Gloria smiled at Mag. You're very welcome. Mag smiled in return. Sitting with Gloria made him feel very comfortable, as if he was having tea with an old friend. The down jacket is very beautiful and much better than I expected. You look very nice in it, Mag praised as he looked at the down jacket on Gloria. Initially, he had still been worried that the tailors might make it bulky and ugly, but judging from the effects on Gloria, no matter if it was the fixing of down filling or the style, it had fulfilled all his requirements on the drawing. Judging from how the wealthy ladies stared at Gloria during mealtime, it would be a highly sought-after piece of garment after it was released. A blush rose up on Gloria's face after she heard Mag's praise, but she continued to maintain her grace as she said, Mr. Mag's drawing is very accurate and precise, and the tailors have great skills. That's why we could make such exceptional clothes. Isn't it even more formidable that we managed to have two bosses like us? Mag smiled. Gloria's blush deepened. She bit on her lips as she didn't know how to answer. When will this batch of down jackets be released into the market? Mag asked. He didn't continue to tease her. The first batch of products is almost complete. After the manual checks, they will be stocked in the stores. However, there are only 50 pieces in the first batch, so they will be sold out very fast, Gloria answered. Timeliness is very important for down jackets. Let's release a few more batches before the winter is over. Otherwise, we will have to wait for next year's winter. Gloria nodded. Silence suddenly descended on them. As the restaurant had the heater on, Gloria undid her down jacket's button. However, her face was a little flushed. Her gaze was fixed on the teacup in front of her, and the steam was rising up slowly. Where have you been in the past few days, Mr. Mag? Gloria asked Mag curiously as she looked up. She had never been out on a trip. She only knew about the world beyond Chaos City from books, and had never had the chance to experience it for herself. I went to the Goblins' Vic Mountain, and then continued northward till the exterior of the Wind Forest. I stayed in the mountains for a few days. Mag smiled. He felt rather apologetic that he had to lie to Gloria as he had to keep his whereabouts a secret. The goblins. Gloria's eyes lit up as she curiously asked, Are their underground caverns really all connected? I have read in the books before that Vic Mountain has underground caverns and caves everywhere, and we would be lost in them forever if we ventured in without a goblin guiding us. We didn't go into the Vic Mountain's underground caverns, because we were afraid we would get lost. However, we did see many underground caverns when we continued northwards, and we did attempt to go in and explore. Mag described to Gloria about what he'd seen and heard during his previous trip to save the Night Elves because he saw that Gloria was very interested. All these things were what he had seen with his own eyes. Even though they weren't any thrilling stories, Gloria still enjoyed them tremendously, and looked at Mag with an adoring gaze. She's an excellent listener, Mag lamented in his heart. If he could tell her about the Demon Islands trip, he would probably receive very good feedback from her. This was such a dangerous and interesting trip. Gloria couldn't help praising after Mag finished about his imaginary trip. If you want to go to the goblins' territory for a trip, Gloria, maybe it will be very convenient very soon, Mag smilingly said to Gloria, who had anticipation written all over her face. The railroad toward the goblins would be up and running very soon, and then it would be very convenient to go to Vic Mountain from Chaos City by steam train. I have never traveled alone for a long distance before. A hint of hesitation appeared on Gloria's face. I suggest you don't travel alone. It's very dangerous for a beautiful young mistress like you to travel alone. Mag nodded. She would most likely be abducted as soon as she left Chaos City if she traveled alone. After all, it was very rare on the market to find such a beautiful and easy to abduct young maiden. This was a dangerous world after all. Gloria remained silent for a moment before gathering up her courage to ask Mag something. She softly said, "Then, could Mr. Mag bring me along when you go out searching for new ingredients again? In that case, I wouldn't be alone." Mag stared at Gloria in shock. He didn't expect she would make a reasonable request like this. Facing a travel invitation from a single beautiful maiden, as a normal man, of course he should accept it without any hesitation. But being a married man with a kid, after making some mental preparation when confronted with such an unreasonable request, Mag smilingly said, "All right, Gloria, I will ask you to come along for the restaurant's next team-building excursion. With everyone else." A hint of disappointment flashed across Gloria's eyes, but her eyes swiftly brightened up again, and she nodded with a smile. I will definitely go if Mr. Mag invites me." The morning tea session ended with the pleasant conversation. Mag saw Gloria out of the door, and just as he was about to go in, he saw a man in black standing at a corner. "Mr. Mag, the Lord invites you to the temple." The man in black gave Mag a black amulet with the Grey Temple's logo. "All right." Mag cocked an eyebrow. Maybe Roland had found out something? However, Mag didn't show anything on his face as he kept that amulet and nodded. He locked the doors, hailed a horse-drawn carriage, and headed straight toward the street next to the Grey Temple's headquarters. He alighted from the carriage and walked to the Grey Temple. This was perfect as he, too, wanted to know what changes happened in this world after they wreaked havoc on the Demon Islands. He's quite a good actor. Michael's lips twitched a little. This husband and wife duo had created such a big hoo-ha, and yet they could still maintain such a high level of acting when they were back. Alex had indeed changed. He was no longer that honest young man then. Roland retrieved his gaze from Mag. Judging from Mag's expression earlier, he was already sure that he was trying to conceal his emotions. Don't ask him how he knew that. If he couldn't see that, he would have never become the Lord of the Grey Temple. Michael didn't go straight to the point. He gestured for Mag to take a seat before continuing, "Oh, you've just come back. I forgot that you are still not aware of the situation. In the days that you were out, a few big events happened on the Demon Islands. The Demon Allied forces, which have the strongest intention for war, are a total shambles now. Irina and Alex have acted. They killed Bashir, and the fear demons were plunged into a short period of chaos. Furthermore, they were most probably the ones who stirred up the war between the Abyss Demons and the Flaming Demons. An internal conflict arose in the vampire tribe due to the change of the vampire ancestor, and an irreparable crack has appeared in between the Bartoli family and the royals. Because of all this, there were also frictions and altercations between the other demon tribes. The war alliance that was formed only exists in name now. I didn't expect the demons that we were worried about would be taken care of so easily. Alex and Princess Irina are really two great people, Mag said with shock and wonder, but there was a hint of suspicion in his eyes. How did Michael and Roland know that it was Irina and he who triggered the war between the Abyss Demons and the Flaming Demons? Here. How could he have said that? Would anyone praise themselves like this? Michael pursed his lips for a moment, but he still continued to smile. Oh, yes. They have really contributed a lot to this world's peace. We're also preparing to meet up with them formally, so we plan to invite Mr. Mag to meet them together with us. Mag cocked his eyebrows. Let him meet himself? Is this a test? Mag began to look at Michael with increased suspicion in his eyes. Although he was sure that he could trust Chaos City and Michael, and they were all on the same side, he believed all he had done before had been perfectly planned, so he still felt rather indignant if they managed to see through it. It would naturally be my honor if I could meet them. Mag nodded with a smile. Ha! Alex won't meet you all silly mortals anyway. Oh, yes. If the war between the Abyss Demons and the Flaming Demons was caused by Irina and Alex, would it bring trouble to Chaos City? Mag asked in a low voice. We have created an alibi for Irina and Alex for the night of Simmons and Alfred's duel. As for the war in between the Abyss Demons and Flaming Demons, apart from us, nobody would suspect Irina and Alex, Rex explained. Oh, I see. Mag began to unfurrow his eyebrows slowly. He didn't expect he actually had such outstanding wingmen. With Chaos City cleaning up their mess behind them, they didn't have to worry they would get themselves into trouble if their plans missed out something. Because they were not powerful enough and their status was a little special, Chaos City had built the biggest and most powerful intelligence network. Judging from all the classified information that they had collected, their intelligence network had infiltrated deep into all the species and power structures. This special intelligence network was born in this environment where all species got along harmoniously. No single species could replicate it. However, this also made Mag guess that Michael and Roland had already found out about his identity. At least, they had suspicions about him. However, since they didn't say it out loud, and still helped to tie up the loose ends, Mag naturally wouldn't readily admit it himself. However, this feeling was quite good too. Everyone knew what was going on without saying things out loud, and they could still chat as they liked and share any information through normal channels without affecting their normal lives. These are the information that the Grey Temple received about all the species in the past few days and some of the classified files that weren't open to you earlier. You may bring it back to read. Roland took out a black wooden box from underneath the table, and gently pushed it to Mag. I am very interested. Mag reached out to accept the box with bright eyes. The latest first-hand information was indeed what he needed right now. Furthermore, he was a little surprised that Michael and Roland elevated his permission, and passed him the classified files too. After experiencing this series of trouble, the demons shouldn't be able to form a united voice in this peace negotiation. The threat of war is temporarily neutralized. Michael smiled at Mag. Mr. Mag, which species problem do you think we should be handling next? After pondering for a while, Mag replied to Michael, I think it should be the Orcs. The Og tribe helped Gary to rebel against and gain control of the Fok tribe. That turned the Orcs into a powerful species that is completely pro-war. However, the internal suppression of the Fok tribe isn't completely done, and Gary doesn't have a firm control of the tribe as the princess of the Fok tribe is still in exile. This may be a breaching point for us to disintegrate the Orcs' pro-war faction. This is indeed an excellent breaching point. However, we're still unable to find Princess Connie of the Fok tribe, and Gary has basically completed his bloody suppression. He has eradicated many orcs who were loyal to the former chief, and is slowly gaining control of the Fok tribe, Roland said with furrowed brows. As a kingslayer, Gary is unjustified and undeserving. Even if he could suppress and control the Fok tribe violently for the time being, this method would only result in a greater upheaval later. Mag shook his head with a smile. Furthermore, I know where Princess Connie is. Oh! Michael and Roland revealed a hint of surprise on their faces at the same. This had indeed exceeded their expectations. Mag shrugged, and explained, I had saved an orc maiden who was being in a deadly pursuit earlier. I only found out she was Princess Connie later. She is now working as a delivery courier at my restaurant and studying under the deputy warden of Basti Prison, the hairless monk. She is now trying very hard to be an assassin without a sense of direction. Michael's lips twitched, and he said with a weird expression, You are indeed a princess collector, Boss Mag. Chapter 1388 You're a real gentleman. There were so many examples that he had simply already lost count. Mag then discussed the railroad constructions that connected to Vic Mountain with Michael and Roland. The 200 km railroad of Phase 1 was already completed, and Chaos City was connected with the most important southern city of the Goblins, Tottery. The building and testing of the locomotive were basically completed, and they were about to invite Mag to the base to conduct the final commissioning so they could ensure that they could enter into the trial run phase. After the conversation, Mag bade his farewell and prepared to leave. Michael sent Mag out, and he curiously asked, Boss Mag, you have been gone for so many days to collect the ingredients, so what is the new product that you are going to release today? Crayfish, Mag replied smilingly. It sounds like delicious seafood. Michael smiled. Indeed. I have spent a lot of effort to obtain this crayfish. Mag nodded in agreement. The current upheaval on the Demon Islands should have been called War of the Crayfish. I will definitely go and try it when I have the time. Michael signed up in advance. We will await you respectfully. Mag nodded with a smile. Mag left the Grey Temple from the side door with the wooden box. He only flagged down a horse-drawn carriage after he reached the adjacent street. This discussion had lasted for 2 hours, so he had to rush back to prepare for lunch service now. The carriage turned on the main street, and Mag was about to lower the curtains when he suddenly noticed Rena, who was helping an old lady as they walked on the edge of the street. He quickly asked the coachman to stop the carriage. Mag raised up the curtains, and shouted, Rena. Rena looked around before she saw Mag in the carriage. Her eyes lit up. What are you doing here, boss? I came out to run some errands, and I happened to see you. Mag smiled, and then his gaze landed on that old lady that Rena was holding. Perhaps he should have said a middle-aged lady, but as she was wearing a cotton jacket that was full of patches on her very skinny figure, and had plenty of white hairs and a hunched body, she did indeed look like an old lady. Her complexion was sickly pale, and she resembled Rena. Mag quickly said, How do you do? You must be Rena's mother. Mother, this is my boss, Mr. Mag. Rena swiftly introduced them. Nice to meet you, Mr. Mag. Thank you for taking care of Rena. She always talks about how good you are to her. Clarence smiled to Mag warmly. Although she had a hard time smiling, it still gave people a warm feeling. Rena is a very outstanding employee whose capability is exceptional. It should be me who should be thanking you for cultivating such a wonderful daughter, Mag humbly replied before continuing, Do you live near here? No, we live in the north of the city. I brought my mother to see a doctor today, and now I am sending her home. I will rush to the restaurant after this. Rena shook her head, and apologetically said, I might be late, but I will try my best to run over. Clarence released Rena's hand, and sternly said, You don't have to send me home, Rena. I can walk home slowly by myself. Go to work now. You shouldn't hold up the restaurant's operations. But mother, your body, Rena looked at Clarence worriedly. The doctor already said I am fine, so just go to work with a peace of mind, Clarence interrupted Rena with a resolute voice. Actually, I didn't come to rush her to go to work. Mag was a little panicky. Why did he feel like an unscrupulous boss? However, it was probably due to such a good family education that poverty didn't make Rena become a bad person. Madam, please hop in. I will send you two home. Mag alighted the carriage and smiled at Clarence. No. Mr. Mag is already so busy. You shouldn't be wasting your time on a useless person like me. Clarence quickly shook her head. If we don't send you home, Rena will definitely be very worried about you at work later, and she won't be able to work well. Mag smiled at Clarence, and gently continued, the carriage will get you home very quickly. It won't take us long to then return to the restaurant together. Boss, Rena was already looking at Mag with reddening eyes. This, Clarence looked at Rena, and then at Mag. She seemed to be quite hesitant and conflicted. That coachman was already lowering the wooden steps as he smilingly said, Old madam, please get in. You don't always get to meet such a nice boss. Then I will have to bother you. Clarence was afraid that her delay might have instead wasted Mag's time. She expressed her gratitude, and then slowly boarded the carriage with Rena's help. Mag reboarded the horse-drawn carriage too, and he immediately lowered the curtains to keep the cold air out there. Rena, tell the master your address, Mag instructed Rena. Rena nodded before lifting the curtain to tell the coachman an address. The carriage quickly turned around and drove toward the north of the city. I am so sorry. I have caused trouble for you, Clarence said with an embarrassed expression to Mag who was sitting opposite to them. You're our elder. This is only a small gesture that I should make. If I had known Rena had to bring you to see the doctor today, I definitely wouldn't have let her go to work today, Mag swiftly consoled. He did indeed blame himself a little for not realizing certain aspects of his employee's life. Clarence had wanted to say something, but she suddenly had to cover her mouth with her handkerchief as she coughed violently. Rena quickly smoothed Clarence's back with worry in her eyes. Mag saw that Clarence was coughing until her face was red, as if every cough was making her very painful. He frowned as it seemed like Clarence's illness wasn't as simple as she said. Clarence only stopped coughing after a while. Mag even saw a tinge of blood on the handkerchief she was clutching in her hands. I'm sorry to let you sit in the same carriage with someone like me, Clarence said to Mag apologetically. She was so nervous that she didn't know where to place her hands. You are making me nervous when you say that. You are Rena's mother and also my elder. I hope I didn't cause you any burden, Mag apologized. Clarence smiled at Mag. You're a real gentleman. I am very glad Rena could meet a boss like you. The horse-drawn carriage stopped, and Mag and Rena assisted Clarence out of it. Mag's heart sank when he looked at the small dilapidated building situated in the slums. For a patient, living in a place like this was going to worsen her condition. Moreover, the restaurant was located at the opposite end of Chaos City from here. It was difficult to imagine how much time Rena had to spend walking to the restaurant in the morning and how she had to walk back to home alone after work. Although Chaos City was safe, to a maiden, the slums in the night was still very dangerous. Rena, you and your mother will move to the employees' dormitory. I have prepared a dormitory for you, Mag said to Rena on their way back to the restaurant. The employees' dormitory is one of the staff's benefits and you deserved it. Considering you are going to live with your mother, I will give you a small suite for two. This will make things more convenient for you too. Mag smiled at Rena before using a tone of voice that emphasized his point. If you reject this, I will think that I am a bad boss. Rena stared at Mag with her mouth slightly agape. His gentle smile seemed to have hit the softest spot in her heart. She nodded gently. Thank you very much. After the lunch service is over, I will get a horse-drawn carriage for you to fetch your mother. The dormitory is very well equipped. You just have to bring your important belongings along with you. Mag smiled. Rena was a very sensitive girl. Hence, he planned to give her mother and her a cozy suite for two so that they wouldn't cause inconvenience to Mia and the rest of the maidens. All right. Rena nodded. She secretly decided that she would give her best at work to repay the boss. When they passed the ice cream shop on their way back, Mag got the carriage to stop there. After paying the coachman, he brought Rena to the back of the ice cream shop, and then went upstairs along the staircase along the wall of the building. There was another door next to the original employees' dormitory. This will be the place where you and your mother live. This side is Mia and the ladies' dormitory. You all will be neighbors, and it'll be easy for you to visit each other. Mag took out a key to open the door. This was a two-room suite that was about 40 meters square. Although its layout was rather compact, it was well equipped with a kitchen, dining room, living room, bathroom, and 2 bedrooms. The light beige decor made the place feel warm and classy. Without any fancy decorations, the simple design style allowed the limited space to be utilized to the fullest, and it wouldn't make one feel cramped and packed. The French windows in the living room made the room look very bright. There was also a small vase with a carnation on a small dining table for two. Rena halted at the door's threshold as she stared at the room which she thought was luxuriously decorated. "Don't you want to come in to take a look?" Mag asked Rena, who was still standing at the door, as he turned around with a smile. Rena shook her head, and hesitantly said, "Boss, I feel this is too luxurious. I cannot stay at such an opulent place. This is the standard for all our restaurant's employees' dormitory. You all give the customers wonderful food and service, and help the restaurant earn a very high income. This is what all of you deserve," Mag said with a smile. He went to the door and pulled Rena gently in by her wrist. "You may not have lived in such a special place, so there are certain things that I will need to explain to you. This is the kitchen. The design of the stove is a miniature version of the restaurant's. The knives are here, the utensils are in the cabinets underneath. This is the condiments box, and this thing is called a refrigerator. If you have leftover food, or you have something that needs to be stored at a low temperature, you can put them in it to maintain their freshness. This will be very useful in the summer." Mag brought Rena around the suite, and explained to her how to use all the electrical appliances and take heed of things to take note of. Rena tried her best to remember as much of the stuff that Mag explained as possible. However, she was still looking at her surroundings with amazement. She secretly lamented in her heart, "So this is how the rich people's house looks. But why have I never seen some of the things before? These things were also not present in the house of my former boss. It's about time soon. We have to return to the restaurant." Mag lifted his hand up to look at his watch. It was already 10:30 p.m. The lunch operations would be affected if they didn't return now. After all, today was the first day of his return. He estimated that there would be many customers coming for lunch after the news got out in the morning. Indeed. As expected, Mag could already see long lines forming at the restaurant before he could reach it. It is still 1 hour away from service, and there are already so many customers lining up. Rena was also surprised to see that dozens of customers were already lining up orderly. This is most probably the charm of the new product. Mag smiled as he walked to the restaurant's door. There were many familiar faces in the line. For example, George was lining up with his family today. Miranda was carrying their daughter who was just 1 month old, while George was carrying Angus in one arm and holding Parber with the other. He could be considered as a very good dad. "You guys didn't bring Parmer along for lunch. Won't he be sad when he finds out?" Mag laughingly said to this big family. "Don't worry. I've already told him to go to the school gates after class, and the coachman will send him to the restaurant. Boss Mag is releasing a new item today, so our family has to come and support you." George chuckled. "Then I'll thank you for your support." Mag laughed as he stroked the face of the little princess who was sleeping cozily in Miranda's arms. Amy was going to adore her when she saw her later. She had said that she wanted to go see Parma's little sister a few days ago. "Boss Mag, we are here too," Vanessa waved her hand to greet Mag. Boss Mag, everything was tasteless to me when you were not around, Abraham said to Mag with a grieving look. Oh, really? I've heard that you have been eating the hot pot continuously for a few days, Your Grace. Mag didn't believe him at all. Ahem. Of course the hot pot is the top choice. After all, only your new chef, Miss Rena, could make something on par with Boss Mag in Chaos City. Abraham cleared his throat awkwardly and gave Rena a thumbs up. Rena blushed, but she felt rather accomplished. Rena is indeed a very exceptional chef. Mag, too, smiled in agreement. He loved an employee who could function on her own the most because it gave him the opportunity to let her run things on his behalf. Vanessa showed her clenched teeth to Mag as she asked, Boss Mag, can you see that my teeth are already much better? Am I allowed to eat the spicy hot pot now? Mag looked at Vanessa's teeth carefully. Compared to how they were before, the black stains that adhered to the surface were indeed much smaller, and some regions had already become white again. If she didn't show her teeth much, they were not obvious anymore. Let's continue to have the clear broth hot pot for a while longer. We should be filling up the holes after all the black stains are removed. You can eat the spicy hot pot after your teeth have completely recovered. Mag shook his head. He had almost forgotten about his mission to repair Vanessa's teeth. Although he was rather in awe with the durian pizza which was veering a little to the side of the dark cuisine, he didn't want to face the punishment of a failed mission. All right. Vanessa's eyes lit up. If Boss Mag called them experts, they had to be formidable. Maybe they could fix her teeth in an instant, and she would be able to eat everything that she likes. Mag greeted all his regular customers before bringing Rena into the restaurant. In the kitchen, Ferris and Camilla had already begun to prepare all the ingredients which were needed for the lunch service. The two of them had completely different cutting styles, but they were equally efficient. Stacks of ingredients which had been sorted out properly were placed at the side, and Mag could just reach for them when he cooked later. Mag went upstairs to change into a set of clean chef's suit. He put on his apron, washed his hands, and started to make the tofu pudding. He had to supply 400 helpings of tofu pudding at lunch today, so the workload was double of the usual. However, it was simply an increase of quantity, which was not a big issue. Rena was watching Mag from the side attentively. She could feel those women's fervent love for the tofu pudding acutely for the past few days. Apart from being delicious, it also had a very good mending effect on the skin. As Mag saw that Rena was watching attentively, he decided to explain the steps while he was making the pudding. The procedures of making tofu pudding may seem complicated, but it actually isn't difficult after you master it. As long as you have a good grasp of the timing. A short while later, Mia and the rest had also arrived at the restaurant. Mia walked to the kitchen, and curiously asked Mag, "Boss, what is the new product that you are releasing today? Can you tell us now? The new item that we're releasing today is braised crayfish. You guys sit over there and wait for lunch. We will be having that for lunch." Mag smiled. Braised crayfish. Everyone was a little puzzled, but they were even more expectant. Anyway, they had never figured out how the boss named his dishes. "Then I will have two big shrimpies," declared Amy, who had just returned home from school and jogged to the kitchen. "All right." Mag nodded and scooped a few crayfish from a tank in the corner. The crayfish that the system supplied from the rearing base were obviously much cleaner than those caught by the fishermen. There wasn't any sand or dirt on them, and they could be cooked immediately after washing with clear water. What a big prawn! All the ladies were shocked to see that 1 kilogram crayfish in Mag's hands. Compared to the big prawns that were used to cook the Yangzhou fried rice, this crayfish could be considered as humongous. "Is this prawn caught from the sea? It has the scent of the sea?" Gina asked curiously. "Yes. This crayfish lives in the sea." Mag nodded with a smile. He retrieved fathead fish from the knife rack, and began to open the crayfish's back and devein it. The kitchen's space doubled when he expanded the designated hot pot area previously. There was plenty of extra space now, so it wasn't cramped at all even after setting up 3 giant woks. Mag decided to delay the release of the 3 flavors that were introduced on the Demon Islands. Having the same flavors was equivalent to exposing himself. Fortunately, he still had 3 other crayfish flavors that he could release. He planned to release the braised crayfish for the afternoon. The steamed crayfish and chilled crayfish would be gradually released later. After the Demon Islands heat blew over, he would then consider releasing the spicy, garlic, and 13-spice crayfish. For the braised crayfish, the mastery of the technique of braising would decide if the crayfish dish could reach the standard of delicacy. He set the processed crayfish aside while he poured the rapeseed oil into the heated wok. After the oil was 70% hot, he added in the spices and stir-fried them gently. The aroma of the spices was slowly released. He then placed the processed crayfish in the wok, and quickly stir-fried it. The greenish-black crayfish slowly turned red, and a mild aroma began to dissipate. Beer was now added in, and covered the crayfish without a single drop of water. He swiftly covered the wok and started to braise it. The braising was to allow the spices to seep into the meat perfectly. This process took quite a long time. After the gravy was almost all reduced, he removed the cover, and the aroma was released instantly as if a scrumptious bomb had just exploded in the kitchen and rushed outward. "Smells so good!" The eyes of everyone who was waiting for their lunch lit up. The fresh aroma that they could smell was irresistibly scrumptious. Mag swirled the giant wok around gently to allow the gravy to be absorbed fully before scooping the crayfish out. All the crayfish was plated alone. Different from the spicy crayfish that was coated with a layer of red oil, the braised crayfish, the exterior of the braised crayfish was rather dry. The spices coated the meat in the opening with a beautiful color, and its suppleness made people drool. "This is our lunch today." Mag smiled as he plated the last crayfish. "I already can't wait to try it out. I think that will be a very exquisite taste," Mia said with anticipation. Babla waved her hands, and all the plates with the crayfish floated up and landed on the big hot pot table. "Is this another way of cooking the crayfish?" Irina said with amazement as she happened to return and looked at the table. "Yes. We are having braised crayfish today. Go wash your hands, and we can start eating lunch." Mag nodded and gestured at everyone to sit down. Mag took his seat and looked at the table full of people. Unknowingly, Mamie restaurant had become a big family. The big table was fully occupied. Apart from Sally, everyone was present. "I am going to start eating now," Amy declared, and then picked a pincer that was as big as her arm. She sucked on the gravy that was in the crack before prying open the shell that had been cracked open in advance. The meat that was soaked bright red was removed from the shell easily. Amy opened her mouth and took a big bite. Her big blue eyes brightened instantly as she chewed on the meat blissfully. The meat that was soaked with the gravy made soft chewing sounds like beautiful music. Gulp! Everyone swallowed their saliva instinctively. The way Amy ate was too enticing. Even watching her eat was an enjoyment. But it was also a form of torture. Fortunately, they, too, had a crayfish in front of them. Amy swallowed the meat in her mouth before saying to Mag, "This big shrimpy is so delicious. I want to have another one when I am done with this." "All right, I will save it for you. You will eat in front of those uncles and aunties lining up out there later." Mag nodded with a smile. We always needed a tester to try things out whenever something new popped up. As an outstanding food tester, Amy was the best candidate to demonstrate how to eat the crayfish to the customers. Chapter 1391 Little Amy, is this crayfish meat divine? There is no prelude or revealing of the name in advance. Boss Mag is very secretive this time. There was a long line of customers in front of the door that went all the way to the park. The customers were all discussing the new product curiously. "The thing that I'm most concerned about is whether I would get to eat the tofu pudding in the position that I am standing now," a lady standing at the end of the line said worriedly. There's no problem. Mr. Mag said that from today onwards, there would be 400 helpings of tofu pudding supplied at every meal. You happen to be the 399th customer, the lady lining up in front of her smilingly said. That's fantastic. That lady's eyes lit up. Being able to eat tofu pudding surpassed everything. Meanwhile, the ladies lining up behind her began to panic. They could only pray that not every man in front of them was going to order a helping of tofu pudding. As for the ladies up ahead, if it weren't for this tofu pudding that had beauty-enhancing effects, not many ladies would be willing to line up here personally for such a long time. Ding! The bell above the restaurant's door rang, and the customers all looked over in surprise. It wasn't the opening hours yet, right? Mia came out with a bench and a stool in her hands. She placed them one in front of the other before returning to the restaurant without uttering a single word. The customers were all perplexed. They had no idea what Miss Mia was doing at all. Right at this time, the restaurant's door opened again, and Amy came out with a big plate in her hands. She placed the plate on the bench while she sat on the stool. Ugly Duckling followed Amy out, and then sat next to her, looking up at that plate earnestly. What a big prawn! The customers' gazes were completely attracted by that giant prawn in Amy's plate. The red crayfish was bigger than Amy's head. Even those two pincers were bigger than Amy's palms. They had never seen such a huge prawn in Chaos City before. Is this the new product that Boss Mag is releasing today? So, the Little Boss new product demonstration is back again. Boss Mag is becoming more and more unscrupulous in order to promote new items. This behavior is really roguish. The customers complained softly, but they didn't look very angry. They were even looking at Amy with an expectant gaze. Although this had become a fixed program whenever a new product was released, looking at Little Boss eat was simply too enticing. Have a look, everyone. What a big shrimpy! Amy lifted the crayfish in the plate high up with both her hands to show everyone how it looked like. Gulp! Some customers were already gulping when they saw that red big crayfish. Moreover, those customers in the front were even assaulted by the aroma. That fresh aroma floated to them gradually, and they felt as if they had smelled the sea. Krasud's and Urian's throat moved simultaneously. They exchanged a glance, and then snorted at the same time while they maintained their expert's persona. Then, I am going to start now. Amy put down the crayfish, and then removed a pincer as usual. She pried open the shell with familiarity, and showed everyone the succulent meat. Amy opened her mouth, and took a big bite of the meat. Her cheeks were puffed out as she made soft chewing sounds. The crayfish meat's tenderness and succulence were displayed perfectly. There was a blissful smile on her little face, and she swayed her upper body left and right habitually. The customers' mouths were all watering. Amy soon finished a tender pincer. She proceeded to twist the crayfish's head off, and then showed the head that was full of crayfish butter to everyone. She picked up the spoon with a long handle at the side, and dug out a spoonful of crayfish from the head as she murmured to herself, "Stupid shrimpy, I'm gonna eat your brains." She placed the entire spoonful of crayfish butter into her mouth as soon as she finished talking. The scrumptious crayfish butter made Amy close her eyes. She could feel the crayfish butter melting in her mouth as if it was leaping on her tongue. The little girl even gently sighed after swallowing it. She reopened her eyes and dug another spoonful of crayfish butter to feed herself. Who am I? Why am I torturing myself here? A customer standing in the front said lifelessly. Boss Mag is just too much, right? Didn't he promise not to use Little Boss first? Harrison swallowed his saliva furiously. Some thoughts popped into his mind while he stared at the leftover crayfish in Amy's plate. Amy sucked onto the crayfish's head even after she emptied the crayfish butter. She then picked up the crayfish, and separated the meat from the shell gently. The meat that was as thick as her arm was peeled off easily. The succulent meat was soaked through by the gravy. It obtained a reddish gold color with a tinge of oil, but it wasn't greasy at all. The restaurant's entrance began to quiet down slowly as the customers stared at crayfish in Amy's hands. Everyone knew the highlight of the show was coming. Amy was holding the meat like a baguette. She took a big bite out of it, and then chewed happily. Although the customers didn't taste it personally, it was as if they could feel that sensation of the crayfish meat blossoming in their mouths. That exquisite taste and that unbelievable chewiness. They began to salivate uncontrollably. Even that prim and proper noble lady couldn't help gulping. Harrison rubbed his rumbling stomach, and cleared his throat in an attempt to say something. "Little Amy, is this crayfish meat divine?" Crasso asked with a smile before anyone could speak. "Hey? Master, are you stealing my lines?" Harrison glared. But after taking a second look at that master, he swallowed all his words, as this master was really a master. Amy swallowed the crayfish meat in her mouth before asking, "Do you want to know, Master Crasso?" Crasso cleared his throat, and nonchalantly said, "Actually, I don't really want to know. But if little Amy insists that I try it, take a sniff. It smells so good." Amy stood up and placed the crayfish meat in front of Crasso's nose for a moment before taking it away, and sitting back on her stool again. She asked, "Did you smell that?" Crasso's expression froze on his face, but he had to squeeze out a smile as he looked at Amy, who had an innocent expression. He nodded. "It smells good, really good. What else could he do? That was his disciple." He asked that question, and the answer he received was perfect. "Ha!" Urian sneered at him mercilessly as he heaved a breath of relief secretly. Fortunately, he had stopped himself from asking. Chapter 1392. It's because I'm a beautiful big sister. It seems like this prawn will go very well with beer. The customers' anticipation was completely triggered by Amy. They were watching Amy eat the crayfish while salivating and waiting anxiously for the restaurant to start its operations officially. "Boss, you're so bad." Mia couldn't help laughing as she looked at the impatient customers. "Seems like we don't have to do any introduction and promotion. This crayfish is going to be another one of the restaurant's bestsellers." Shirley smiled. "This crayfish is so scrumptious. The customers will definitely love it," Gina said softly. Even though she had grown up under the sea, she had never had such a delicious prawn before. She wondered where Mr. Mag found this prawn. "How could you say this is bad? I'm only letting Amy do a demonstration for them. Otherwise, it would be difficult for those customers who had never seen crayfish before to eat it," Mag replied seriously. It was not common to see a good boss who was as considerate as him. 1,000 copper coins each. Irina looked at Mag with astonishment as she picked up one of the menus, and looked at the pricing of the crayfish on it. The pricing of a product isn't just decided by its value. There are other factors like scarcity and high prestige, Mag said calmly. The crayfish that he bought from the system cost 100 copper coins each. Although setting the price at 1,000 copper coins was a little exorbitant, it wasn't a big problem, either. After all, this was a marine crayfish that weighed 1 kilogram each. One was enough to make a person full. Even based on the price of the Australian lobster in his previous life, a live one would have cost over 600 copper coins. Together with his expert culinary skills, could 1,000 copper coins be considered as expensive? Yes, it was indeed a little expensive. Which restaurant's crayfish cost 1,000 copper coins each? Let's get ready. It's time for operation soon. Mag looked at the clock on the wall. It was 5 minutes to the official operation hours. Jane came forward, and softly asked Mag, "Boss, what should I do during lunch service?" The restaurant was very busy, so she wanted to do her fair share. Otherwise, simply helping once a while made her feel like a good-for-nothing. Mag pondered a while before saying, "Then, you will assist Anna in collecting payment. We will be busy for lunch, and collecting payment is a very important task. Anna is going to have a busy time." Jane answered. Anna smiled at Jane. Well then, I will have to bother you, big sister Jane. Jane smiled and nodded too. Although Anna was tiny, she was very good at collecting payment. However, the restaurant was so busy it was a little overwhelming for her to count the sum, collect money and return the change alone. Jane could help to lighten her load. Let's get to work. Mag straightened his chef's uniform. After making sure everything was fine, he pulled open the restaurant's door, and smilingly said to hundreds of customers lining up outside, "Welcome to Mamie Restaurant." The customers looked at Mag standing tall and straight at the restaurant's door, and instantly felt relieved. That door was finally open. And Amy happened to finish the last pincer, and she looked up at Mag and smiled with satisfaction. "Father, I am done. I'm so full." Little Amy, you really enjoy your food." Mag smiled indulgently as he patted Amy's head. He always felt very satisfied after seeing the little one's blissful and sated smile. Money could no longer motivate him. Amy was his greatest motivation on his path to become the god of cookery. He had promised to cook the Manchu Han Imperial feast for her before. He couldn't give up before achieving this small target. The customers entered the restaurant orderly, and Mag greeted every single one of them. He could remember all his customers' names. This was also why the customers were willing to frequent the restaurant. "Is the braised crayfish what little boss was eating earlier? 1,000 copper coins each is a little expensive." The customers took their seats, and they quickly noticed the crayfish that was added to the menu and the price marked behind it. Many decided against ordering one to try right away. 1,000 copper coins wasn't a small sum. They could have a few rigiamos and tofu puddings with it. "I think the pricing is rather reasonable. One crayfish is enough to make one full, and together with a mug of beer, it would be a very good combination," Harrison said after looking at the menu. He sat with George and his family to make up one table. "I agree with your pairing." George nodded in agreement before asking Miranda and the kids, "What would you guys like to eat?" "I would like to have a crayfish too." Parmer raised his hand. Parber raised his hand, and repeated, "Ice cream. I want to eat ice cream." "Parber, you cannot have ice cream before your meal." Miranda pressed Parber's hand down before saying, "I would like to try out that prawn too." Amy seemed to enjoy it very much. "I wonder what it tastes like. Parber and Angus can share it with me as it's so big and I won't be able to finish it myself." "All right." George nodded. Mia happened to approach them, so he ordered 4 helpings of crayfish, 2 mugs of beer, and 6 helpings of tofu pudding. "Can Angus, my little friend, have tofu pudding now?" Harrison looked at Angus, who was chewing on his hand with amazement after placing their orders. Boss Mag said he could have a little, but children shouldn't have too much of it, George answered with a smile. "The usefulness of children is on full display now." Harrison sighed. The little one in Miranda's arms was sucking on a softwood pacifier and looking around curiously with her big eyes. This was her first time out of the house. "Hello, little sister Christy." Amy came over and smilingly greeted the baby in Miranda's arms on her tiptoes. "Eh." The little one's gaze landed on Amy, and her big round eyes lit up as she dropped her pacifier. She extended her hands toward Amy as if she wanted her to hold her. "Do you want me to hold you?" "Oh well." Amy sighed before asking Miranda, "Auntie Miranda, can I hold the baby?" "Of course you can." Miranda nodded smilingly, and passed Christy to Amy carefully. Christy wouldn't even ask her father to carry her. "I never expected she would approach Amy." "It's because I'm a beautiful big sister." Amy hugged Christy and gave her a peck on her cheek. Christy immediately smiled happily. "I want a pretty big sister to kiss and hug me too." Parber stood up from the chair, pouted his lips, and extended his hands to Amy. "But I don't want to." Amy rejected him with a serious expression. "Father, I want to become a little girl," Parber said with aggrievement and anticipation as he leaned into Georgie's arms and gradually stopped crying. It's useless because you will still be rejected even if you turned into a girl as you're not cute enough, Parber analyzed calmly. Yes. See how cute Christy is. Pink and tender, just like a little elf. Amy nodded as she made funny faces at Christy. Whoa. No, I want to be cute too. I also want to be hugged by big sisters. Parber, who had stopped crying, started tearing up again. He looked utterly gutted with tears on his face. I will bring the child out to play for a while, Georgie said to Miranda helplessly. He had no choice now. Little Boss wouldn't give him a chance to console that child, and the latter would affect the other customers' dining experience, which wasn't good. Let me see who is the little cutie that wants a hug, a gentle voice spoke right then, and a colorful bubble floated over with a colorful fish swimming happily in it. The bubble stopped in front of Parber. Parber's attention was attracted by that bubble fish immediately. His eyes widened, and he stared at that bubble in disbelief. Little cutie, can Big Sister carry you? Big Sister will bring you to see the fish that can fly. Gina came forward and talked to Parber gently as she blew at that bubble lightly. The bubble with the fish began to spin around Parber's head. Hum. Parber's attention was completely attracted by the bubble and the fish. Furthermore, this Big Sister was very gentle. He nodded without any hesitation, and let Gina pick him up. I will play with the child for a while. Please enjoy your meal, Gina said to Georgie smilingly as she carried Parber, and chased after the bubble toward the children's play area. There were already 5-6 children playing in the small play area, chasing after the bubble fish. This allowed the parents to have a moment of relief. Thank goodness for Miss Gina. Georgie heaved a sigh of relief. She could always calm a crying child down in a minute. Whoa! Christy, let's go and play with a bubble fish. I will ask Big Sister Gina to make a pretty little goldfish for you. Amy's eyes lit up too. She informed Miranda before bringing Christy to the play area. Gina made a tiny red goldfish bubble for Christy that swam slowly in front of her. Christy raised her hand in an attempt to grab that tiny goldfish, and made soft chuckling sounds. Little Amy is such a kind child. Miranda watched them with a smile. Yes. Little Boss is just like a little angel. Although she is a little straightforward with Parber, she is still a kind person like Boss Mag. Georgie also nodded with a smile. He wasn't concerned about the matter that Parber was reduced to tears. Little angel. Parber supported his chin with his hand and pondered as he watched Amy's back. The customers continued to place their orders. Those who could accept the 1,000 copper coins price of the crayfish ordered one to try without any hesitation. After all, it took Boss Mag a 5-day trip before he came up with this dish. Moreover, watching Little Boss demonstration had already whetted their appetite for it. Your crayfish. Mia came up with a big tray, and placed 4 helpings of crayfish in front of Vanessa, Abraham, Lola, and Randy. Although Randy came a little late, he still happened to sit at the same table with them. Whoa, this prawn is huge. Its head is even bigger than my palm, Vanessa said in astonishment as she compared her hand with it. Randy appraised the giant prawn, and commented, only the sea would have such a giant prawn. It will die very quickly after it's removed from the water. I wonder how Boss Mag transported this prawn to Chaos City perfectly. If it is chilled, a flying steed has to be used to transport it to maintain its texture. The transportation cost would be exorbitant. Furthermore, there is still no way to make sure it won't die on the road. I still haven't seen Boss Mag use unfresh ingredients before. We will know if it was alive after we try it out. Abraham smiled and reached out for a pincer like how Amy did before. The shell was rather dry, and it was cracked in advance. Hence, he could pry open the shell easily to reveal the supple meat within. The meat is rather firm, which is not like those prawns that were thawed after being frozen for a long time, Abraham said as he looked at the firm prawn meat before taking a bite. Oh! Abraham's eyes became bright instantly when he chewed on the tender and fat crayfish meat as the freshness blossomed immediately. All the spices' taste had already seeped into it during the long braising period. Compared to the dry shell, the meat was soaked with gravy, and had a tinge of alcohol fragrance. The slightly spicy texture didn't cover the freshness of the meat. The teeth could even sense the bounciness of the texture after they bit down. That was a piece of scalp-numbing music. As a man who had once represented the Roth Empire on a trip to the Demon Islands, Abraham had tasted the freshly caught and cooked king mantis shrimp. That fresh taste and taste were unforgettable. However, compared to this crayfish, the king mantis shrimp that was deemed as the #1 prawn on the Demon Islands by the Master Tony was utterly defeated. Regardless if it was the freshness of the meat, the bouncy texture, or the taste brought upon by the amazing cooking techniques, Boss Mag's braised crayfish had won over that king mantis shrimp hands down. I can guarantee with my reputation that this was definitely cooked with a fresh live prawn, Abraham said gravely after swallowing the meat. Moreover, this is the most delicious prawn that I have ever eaten. Without any comparison. Oh! Randy looked a little surprised. After this period of interaction with Abraham, he knew the latter was on par with him in terms of the knowledge of food. However, he still couldn't believe Mag could transport marine prawns to Chaos City alive. He simply couldn't imagine the cost. Randy twisted the head off and looked at the full crayfish butter as the aroma greeted him. He used a spoon to scoop up the crayfish butter. The crayfish butter was very supple, and had no fishy smell at all. This was indeed very different from the frozen marine prawns that he had eaten in Chaos City before. But the taste of the sea was really unforgettable. The fish and prawns that were caught from the sea were nature's best gifts. They didn't even need any condiments. A simple boil in the water could release their fresh taste. And this prawn had the freshness that belonged to the sea. It was just like the sweet scent that he smelled when he was playing in the sea with that madam. Abraham was right. This was the freshest live prawn. Only a live prawn would taste so outrageously fresh and bring back sweet memories. Although it's unbelievable, I have to admit that this is indeed a fresh prawn from the sea. Randy nodded at Abraham before praising, I never thought I could eat such fresh seafood in Chaos City. Just based on the fact that this prawn was live, its value has already far exceeded 1,000 copper coins. Boss Mag is indeed a boss with a conscience. Yes. I think that I have a very good conscience too. Mag happened to hear Randy's praises, and he lamented in his heart unabashedly. This prawn is really very delicious and huge. All we need is to peel the shell once, and we can stuff ourselves full of it. This is really too blissful. Randy and Abraham were still lamenting about the preciousness of the prawn and the uniqueness of the cooking method. Meanwhile, Vanessa was already chewing on the supple meat after peeling the shell. The crayfish meat was already soaked through by the spices. The suppleness of the meat and its juice brought upon a very enjoyable eating experience. The sensation of fresh spiciness and a tinge of sweetness while gnawing on the meat was extremely blissful. Although we have waited for 5 days, Boss Mag's crayfish has completely exceeded my expectations. It's totally worth it. Abraham drank a mouthful of beer from the mug before heaving a long sigh of relief. He nodded. It's indeed a marvelous pairing with the beer. It would be even better if it could be a little more spicy. I think that would make the experience even more fantastic. Randy clanked his mug with Abraham's before drinking a mouthful. Smiling, he continued, of course, this doesn't affect it rising to the #1 seafood spot in my heart at all. The customers who ordered the crayfish couldn't praise it more. At the same time, they were more forgiving toward Mag for abandoning them for 5 days. The sales of the crayfish also increased the sales of the beer. Eating the crayfish with a mug of ice-cold beer was an irresistible, happy, and enjoyable experience for any man. After the lunch service was over, Mag did a calculation. A total of 500 crayfish were sold. Although it was less than the number sold on Carapace Island, due to the increase in price, his earnings had instead risen a lot. Hence, what's the point of having a high sales volume? A low-profit strategy isn't feasible in the long term after all, Mag murmured in his heart. The good reputation that the restaurant had built up made the promotion of the new product much easier. Of course, the exquisite taste was the #1 productive force. Rena, I've already hailed the horse-drawn carriage for you. The coachman will help you carry your things. Go back and move both your and your mother's things over to the dormitory, Mag said to Rena, who was packing up the kitchen, after he went out of the door and returned within a minute. Thank you, boss. Rena looked at that big horse-drawn carriage waiting at the door before bowing at Mag. She then removed the apron and walked out of the door. You gave Rena a place in the dormitory? Irina asked Mag while squashing Ugly Duckling's chubby face. Mag threw a glance at Ugly Duckling, which didn't dare to utter a sound even with its face squashed into a square. He nodded. Yes. Rena is living in the north of the city now, which is too far from the restaurant. Firstly, it's inconvenient. Secondly, it's not safe to walk home alone at night. Hence, I let her and her mother move next to Mia and the ladies. Irina answered. Rena's mother is rather ill, so I would like to ask you to take a look at her. Is it all right? Mag asked again. Of course. Anyway, I have nothing to do in the afternoon. Irina nodded. Next, I have promised to mend Vanessa's teeth earlier. So, I have planned to ask Zixie over to take a look at her too. I wonder if there is a more natural way to mend her teeth. Do you want to take a look at her too? Her teeth are the result of her eating too many sweets. If she doesn't stop eating sweets, they're going to return to that condition in no time even after they are fixed, Irina said with a knowing expression. Her penchant for sweets is indeed a problem, Mag agreed with Irina's judgment before continuing, however, apart from sweets, there may be something else that is affecting her teeth. Do you mean that black stuff? I have no idea what that is, either. Irina shook her head. Mag furrowed his brows slightly as he pondered. Then, he said, Vanessa has already successfully removed a lot of the black stains with daily brushing. If that's effective, this problem could be controlled effectively by daily brushing. So, it isn't a big problem. It didn't take long for Rena to move house, because there weren't many things that she needed to bring along with her. As for those life necessities such old blankets and utensils, Mag had already told her to leave them behind. She had spent most of the time convincing her mother to leave that stuff behind before boarding the carriage, and proceeding to the new dormitory. Of course, they had to make a stop at the restaurant first. Mother, this is the restaurant where I work, Rena said smilingly as she helped Clarence out of the carriage. What a beautiful restaurant, Clarence commented in amazement as her eyes lit up while she looked at the restaurant with the French doors. Let's go. Mr. Mag should be already waiting for us, Rena said with a smile before helping Clarence walk to the restaurant. She knocked lightly on the door before pushing it open and walking in. Rena, Mrs. Clarence, you've arrived. Mag came out to welcome them with a smile. Thank you very much for letting us stay in your dormitory, Mr. Mag. I feel bad for troubling you with my old lady's problems, Clarence said to Mag appreciatively. This is the staff benefit that Rena should enjoy as an employee of the restaurant. Ensuring my employees are not tired out from commuting is what I should do, Mag smilingly replied before introducing, this is Princess Irina. She happens to be free today, so she agreed to check up on your body for you. This, Rena's eyes lit up. She naturally knew the identity of Irina after working at the restaurant for some time, but didn't expect the noble princess would be willing to treat her mother. She began to look at Mag with an even more grateful gaze. It had to be the boss who asked Princess Irina to help. Clarence, too, quickly bowed at Mag and Irina after hearing that, and appreciatively said, then let me thank you and your highness in advance. Chapter 1395 I've heard that you are rather friendly with a girl who sells clothes. A light green beam appeared on Clarence's skin, and she had already closed her eyes instinctively. Her pale and haggard face became visibly rosy again right in front of them, and her rapid breathing gradually became smooth. Rena stood at the side nervously, and then her gaze became excited gradually. She had received very bad news from the doctor today. Her mother's illness was already beyond help. The doctor was even suggesting that she gave up treatment. But now Princess Irina's amazing magic was making her mother recover very rapidly. About 3 minutes later, Irina retrieved her hand. "Mother!" Rena went up and grasped Clarence's hand as she looked at her nervously and expectantly. Clarence opened her eyes and touched her throat in disbelief before patting her chest, and exclaiming, "I am cured. This is great! This is so great!" Rena hugged Clarence excitedly. Her mom had been very sick for the past 2 years. She was getting weaker and weaker without any signs of improvement. She didn't expect that she could make a full recovery. Clarence also hugged Rena with a smile, but she soon released her, bowed deeply at Irina, and gratefully said, "I don't know how to thank you for treating me, Your Highness." "Don't worry, it's only a small matter," Irina replied casually. "Your Highness, thank you for saving my mother." Rena, too, bowed deeply at Irina. Irina said to Rena, "Your mother's body is still a little weak, so she should eat more nutritious food like bone broth. She will regain a normal constitution soon." Rena swiftly nodded. "Rena, pack a helping of bone broth for Mrs. Clarence when you're making it in the future so you don't have to cook again when you're home." Mag smiled. The restaurant's bone broth was definitely more nutritious than the other bone broths out there. This, Rena was a little hesitant. 50 copper coins for one helping, and it will be deducted from your meal allowance. Rena smiled again and nodded hard. Rena bid her farewell and left with her mother. They, too, would need to readjust themselves after moving to a new place. "Your life magic is getting more and more formidable," Mag praised as he closed the door. He watched Irina grow a devil's ivy leaf into a complete plant with her fingers. "It's only the depletion of life force due to exertion. I have closed up the gap for her. As long as she gets enough nutrition, she will recover very quickly," Irina said calmly as she placed the devil's ivy back in the hydroponic vase. "That's good." Mag nodded. He had read Clarence's body report when she entered earlier. There wasn't any big problem, but all her physical indicators were low. However, after Irina gave her an influx of life force, all her physical indicators returned to normal. The malnutrition problem would be easily solved by taking in all the right nutrients for a period of time. "I went to the Grey Temple in the morning." Mag sat opposite to Irina. "Did Roland, that old man, find out that it is we who had done that?" Irina cocked an eyebrow. "I think they most likely know. At least they are suspecting something." Mag nodded. "Then we can only silence them." Irina's expression turned cold, and a murderous aura could be sensed. "Hey!" Mag was stunned, and then swiftly explained, Actually, we don't have to be so extreme. I feel they are friendly toward us. They even created an alibi for us proactively." Irina looked at Mag, and then suddenly burst out laughing. She chuckled. "Your nervous expression is so funny." Mag's expression froze as he looked at Irina, who was laughing like a child. He sighed secretly. What else could he do? This was his wife, so he couldn't really seek revenge, right? "I've heard that you are rather friendly with a girl who sells clothes? And you two often drink tea together." Irina suddenly stopped laughing and looked at Mag judgingly. Mag raised his eyebrows slightly. "Who leaked the information?" Although Mag tensed up instantly, his expression remained calm. He pretended to chuckle calmly. "Are you talking about Miss Gloria? She's the boss of Blue Suede Fashion, and I am their fashion designer, so we have some interaction at work. We will drink some tea during our work discussion." "You know how to design clothes too?" Irina was amazed. Allow me to humbly let you know that all the staff uniforms, Amy's clothes, and all the clothes that Blue Suede Fashion released are designed by me. Mag raised his chin at a 45-degree angle. You are not humble at all. You are humble bragging. The system's angry voice appeared. Really? I've heard that the shop is the most popular ladies' fashion shop in Chaos City right now. I intended to go take a look too. Irina was looking at Mag with an amazed and appreciative gaze now. Mag was very satisfied with Irina's gaze and the successful change of topic. He nodded. Of course. They're going to release a new down jacket very soon. You should go and have a look. Down jacket? What's that? A piece of clothes that is made of down. Irina asked curiously as expected. The down jacket is a piece of clothing that stuffed the white goose down in between the inner layers of the clothes. The down jacket that is made in this manner is light yet very warm, Mag explained. Oh, I see. Irina thought for a moment before her gaze landed on Ugly Duckling. Just like those on Ugly Duckling? They're a little ugly. Meow, meow. Ugly Duckling stared at Irina with a perplexed look. Mag looked at Ugly Duckling's fluffy fur, and shook his head. Not that kind of fur. All right. I will go take a look when I am free. Irina retrieved her gaze and looked at Mag again as she smilingly asked, however, how did you become her designer? That's a long story. Mag lamented. Of course, it would be the best if he didn't have to tell it. It's fine. All I have is time. Irina snuggled into the chair like a good listener. Mag looked at Irina's behavior, and said with much consideration, speaking of this, we will have to start from a bowl of tofu pudding. Miss Gloria ding. A crisp sound of the bell interrupted Mag's words. Mag glanced at the clock on the wall and walked to the door while saying, it's time for Vanessa's appointment. All right. Vanessa nodded and brought Lola into the restaurant. Mag heard them greeting the others, and closed the door behind him, making his way to the magic potion shop next door. There was nothing going on between him and Gloria, but once a woman started suspecting something, no amount of explanation would clear your name. Luckily, Irina was not an unreasonable woman, and there was nothing questionable about his conversation with Gloria. However, that also reminded him that as a married man, he should be more mindful when having tea with Gloria in the future. He should be careful not to let people chance upon it. Mag walked into the magic potion shop, and was greeted with a waft of faint potion smell. Zixi had her back towards the door, standing among a pile of glass beakers, and mixing her potions with full concentration. Ever since Zixi started working at the magic potion shop, the business had skyrocketed, and the flow of customers that Mamie restaurant brought also contributed to the magic potion shop's business. Their shop's hot seller was the recovery potion, which had twice the effectiveness of potions of the same price, and it was always running out of stock. Urian successfully became an owner who didn't have to do anything. Of course, it did not matter to him how much the shop was making. Mag stood at the side for a while, waiting. Zixi only noticed Mag was standing in the shop after she poured the turquoise liquid from the beaker into a small bottle, and then capped it up to put it on top of the display. "Boss Mag, when did you come?" Zixi exclaimed. She glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already 2:05 p.m. She apologetically said, "I'm sorry, I tend to forget the time when I start mixing potions. It completely slipped my mind that we had a meeting." "It's okay, I've just arrived, and you need to focus when mixing your potions. Are you done now?" Mag said with a smile. Let's go over now. It would not be nice to be late." Zixi put the potion on the display rack, and walked to the restaurant with Mag. Mag brought Zixi to the restaurant. Meanwhile, Vanessa was chatting happily with Irina. Zixi greeted Irina with a smile. Then, Mag introduced Vanessa to her. "Since we're all here, we can start the consultation with regards to Miss Vanessa's dental fillings." Mag sat beside Irina. Vanessa sat in front of the three of them, and opened her mouth to show her teeth. Mag used a chopstick to point at Vanessa's teeth as he said, "Firstly, let me briefly talk about Miss Vanessa's teeth. Half a month ago, her teeth were practically covered by this black substance, and she had very serious gum problems at the same time. After using the Yunnan Bio toothpaste to brush her teeth, her gum problems are under control, and the amount of black substance on her teeth is also significantly smaller. This shows that brushing your teeth can help to clean and control the growth of such substances. The main problem right now is the cavities resulting from the teeth decay. How should we clean the dental plaque on the inside of the holes, and how to fill the cavities so that the teeth can go back to their normal state? After that, brushing every day would be the way to maintain a set of healthy teeth. Life magic and light type magic have no effect on cleaning the dental plaque. However, I can soften elephant tusks and then use them to fill the cavities. This is how the elves do the dental filling," Irina said. "That's not a bad idea. But if we don't clear the black stains, the remaining teeth will still be corroded from inside out." Mag looked at Zixi. "I can give it a try." Zixi nodded. She took the chopstick from Mag, and a faint green glow surrounded the chopstick. The bamboo chopstick became green very quickly. A stalk grew out from the chopstick, followed by leaves. "That's impressive." Vanessa and Lola watched in awe. The bamboo had become a thin bamboo shoot way faster than when she first showed it to Mag. It was obvious that after receiving help from Irina, Zixi's world tree had recovered a lot. "Miss Vanessa, please show me your teeth." Zixi stood up and went to Vanessa. Vanessa opened her mouth immediately. If her dental problems could be treated, she would be able to eat all the food in the world without any worries. The cavities were on almost every tooth, and some seemed to have drilled a hole into her teeth. One could only imagine how painful it had to be. The black stains around the cavities made the teeth look very unpleasant. Zixi placed the bamboo shoot, which was as thin as a toothbrush, on Vanessa's teeth gently. The bamboo disintegrated, and small spots of green light landed on the teeth, covering the surfaces of the cavities with black stains. The stains that were in contact with the green glow melted away as though they were cleaned by a very strong detergent. "It seems effective," Zixi said with a smile. She continued maneuvering the bamboo, gliding it across Vanessa's teeth to effectively remove the stains at every hidden corner. "Is it really effective?" Vanessa asked incomprehensibly as her eyes lit up. She could only feel a cooling and refreshing sensation on the parts of the teeth that the bamboo touched. If it weren't because the bamboo was still in her mouth, she would really want to take a look at how her teeth had changed immediately. "It's a very big change." Mag smiled. He made the right decision to call Zixi. Normal magic would have no effect on these black stains. However, Zixi was probably the last dryad in this world who knew nature magic. Nature magic was really effective on these black stains. "Yes, Your Highness, the stains were really removed," Gloria said agitatedly, without realizing what she said. About 3 minutes later, the bamboo in Zixi's hand completely disintegrated, and Vanessa's teeth had a complete makeover. They were very white and stain-free. "Take a look." Mag passed Vanessa a mirror. Vanessa held the mirror in both hands. When she saw her pearly white teeth, she was dumbfounded for a good 1 minute before she put the mirror down. She leaped off her chair and hugged Zixi as tears welled up in her eyes, gratefully saying, "Thank you, big sister Zixi, thank you, you're welcome, think nothing of it." Zixi smiled and patted Vanessa gently on her back. She could imagine how much pain and troubles the teeth must have been for such a beautiful lady. "Now that the stains are removed, we can begin with the filling." Irina took out a clean and white elephant tusk and a paring knife. While looking at Vanessa, she said, "Do you want to fill your teeth up or have a complete set of ivory dentures?" "What has this got to do with hounds?" Vanessa asked curiously. "Your teeth would be as clean as a hound's tooth," Irina said with a smile. Vanessa was stunned, while Mag and the rest could not help but crack up. Even though it sounds very impressive, I think I would still want to keep my teeth. Big sister Irina, can I trouble you to use the elephant tusk to do the ivory filling for me, please? Vanessa looked at Irina sincerely. Her dental problems had troubled her for many years. Although she always told herself in consolation that she had no friends to show her teeth to, who wouldn't want to be in the limelight, standing in a beautiful evening dress at the most lavish palace banquet? She did not want to be the ugly monster who was afraid to face the world. She did not want to hide alone behind the palace walls outside Rodu. Of course, the most important thing was that she really wanted to have a taste of the spicy hot pot and spicy grilled fish. Open your mouth. Irina lifted Vanessa's chin with a finger, and used the paring knife to carve out small bits from the elephant tusk. She curled her finger, and the ivory bits floated up and were enveloped by a golden glow. They softened quickly, and were inserted into each cavity. The process of softening the ivory and inserting it into the cavity was very quick. It took only around 2 to 3 minutes in total. When Irina retracted her finger, Vanessa's cavity-filled teeth were completely mended. Furthermore, there was no difference between the color of the ivory and teeth, so there was no trace of any dental filling. Even the curve of the surface of the teeth looked perfectly normal. That's great! Your young mistress, your teeth have been mended, and they are now neat and white, Lola exclaimed as tears of joy welled up in her eyes. Vanessa raised the mirror and looked at her pearly white teeth for a while, stunned, before tears started rolling down her cheeks. Aren't you satisfied? Irina asked, after going over to take a look. Vanessa shook her head as she lamented, no, look, what a beautiful young lady, how did the beauty get overlooked by the teeth? Irina nodded, and said, yet. If you've cured your dental problems sooner, you might have been betrothed to a demon king. The kind with eyeballs all over his body. Vanessa paused for a while from the shock. Even her tears stopped falling. She looked at Irina with fear. I was kidding. Irina caressed Vanessa's head with a smile. Before the latter could react, Irina continued, the Roth Empire is on okay terms with the Fear Demon tribe. You might end up with a forest troll prince that has lizards crawling all over his body. Wah! Vanessa started wailing. She covered her mouth, and said with grievance, I'm scared of lizards. I don't want a fear demon prince or a forest troll prince. I don't want to marry a prince. Vanessa glanced around the restaurant and finally looked at Mag. She looked at him with plea in her eyes and said, Boss Mag, please marry me. Mag, who was just watching the show, was stunned. Why did she suddenly cue him to marry her? Would he dare to? Irina smiled and looked at Mag. I wouldn't dare to do that. I'm worried that Duke Abraham would tear me apart. Mag waved his hands quickly and laughed awkwardly. If he dared to nod, Irina alone could tear him apart. However, after mending her teeth and solving her dental problems, Vanessa could really be considered a beautiful woman. She had perfectly inherited the good looks of the royal family and bloodline. Mag met the queen at a palace banquet before. Vanessa had inherited her beauty and charisma. She was tall and had a long, slender neck like a swan. Ding! Congratulations on completing Vanessa's teeth-mending mission. Mission reward, 1 recipe for durian pizza. The system's voice rang in Mag's head. Mag raised his brow. It had been a long and arduous mission. Thankfully, with Zixi and Irina's help, it was finally completed, and he could finally be rid of the tooth decay threat. Vanessa, who was rejected by Mag, was a little disappointed. Did Boss Mag not have a bit of interest in her even after her teeth were back to normal? Vanessa, your teeth have recovered, so you can eat whatever you want. You just need to maintain the good habit of brushing your teeth once every morning and night, and you won't have to worry about dental problems anymore, Mag said with a smile. Yet, Vanessa's eyes lit up, and a bright smile appeared on her face again. She looked at Mag, and said, then can I try the insanely spicy grilled fish and spicy hot pot? I won't stop you if you want to give it a try. Mag nodded. That's great. Vanessa smiled radiantly. She thought for a while, quickly got Lola to open her bag, and pulled out a thick envelope filled with cash. She passed it to Mag, and said, "Boss Mag, this is just a little something to thank you for helping me treat my teeth. I am very grateful." "You're welcome." Mag accepted the heavy envelope happily. It was not bad to take this experience as a form of transaction. In any case, the relationship between them was quite awkward. His father and her father and two brothers were enemies, so he was already very kind to her. Vanessa then removed a white jade pendant that she had on her and passed it to Zixi, gratefully saying, "Big sister Zixi, this is my favorite jade pendant. Thank you for helping me treat my teeth." Zixi looked at the jade pendant. It was very smooth, and there were even beautiful patterns on the surface. She thought for a while, and decided to accept the jade pendant. "Thank you." Vanessa looked at Irina, and thought seriously for a while. She was in a dilemma. "It's all right. Considering our relationship, just 10 or 20 million will do," Irina said with a smile. "In that case, I'll have to go back and ask my father for it," Vanessa said with distress. "Then you can just put it on your tab for now, and get him to send the money over. You're in my hands now anyway," Irina said in a relaxed manner. "That's true. Then I'll write him a letter tonight." Vanessa nodded. Mag looked at Irina as though she was trying to cheat a little child of her money, and pretended that he did not know anything. Of course, he did not dare to ask anything as well. Vanessa left happily, and Zixi also took her leave. Only Mag and Irina were left in the restaurant. Mag stared at Irina and weighed the envelope with his hand before emptying it out on the table. A pile of dragon coins rolled out. Smiling, he said, "That's not a bad transaction. Are restaurant owners nowadays so concerned about their customers' dental health?" "I saw a few old men with bad teeth today," Irina asked with a smile. Mag closed the door and sat in front of Irina. He asked, "About the elves that came back 2 days ago, are they still getting along fine?" "Those who joined the night elves have similar experiences. They gather together for warmth, and that's pretty good." Irina nodded, but she still seemed a little down. Mag got up, and told her, "I've just gotten the latest news about the different tribes from the Grey Temple. There's also news about the Wind Forest. Do you want to take a look?" "I haven't had the time to take a look at it yet." "Sure." Irina got up and followed Mag upstairs to the study. Mag pulled out a chest from a hidden section, and unlocked the lock on it before opening the chest. There were 8 envelopes inside, each representing the 8 tribes. Under the envelopes was a smaller wooden box. The box should be the one that contained the unreleased information that Roland had told him about. Information about the Wind Forest. Mag pulled out one of the envelopes, and handed it to Irina. There should be a record of news on what happened in the Wind Forest over this period. Irina received the envelope, and sat down in front of the study table to read the document. After coming to Chaos City, her source of information was cut, and so first-hand news like this was extremely valuable. On the night before the Allied forces started their attack, most of the Night Elves would travel between the crypt and the Wind Forest via an underpass to spread the message of the Night Elves' mission. She was the most concerned about their current situation right now. Mag pulled out the envelope on the Demon Islands, and sat down on another chair to read the document. He was also very curious what kind of impact their trip to the Demon Islands had on the demons. 2 hours passed by very quickly. Mag was still reading about the comparison between the forces of the Fear Demons and the Chivalrous. Irina was already done reading. She looked at Mag, and said, "I want to go to the Wind Forest." Mag looked up at Irina, a little surprised. "Did anything happen?" "Helena will officially crown Sally as the Princess of the Elves and burn all the rebels they've caught during this period 3 days later," Irina said coldly. "The Night Elves? Mag heard Irina mention that the batch of night elves who had been with her for the longest time had already gone back to the wind forest in preparation to rope more elves in to join the night elves. Yes. The night elves spread the message of freedom, and there are more and more elves joining the group as they feel freedom beckoning them, making the night elves grow in number. This has been happening in various parts of the wind forest like sparks ready to ignite catching on fire. Helena and the other ruling elves could already feel the threat, so they captured a batch of night elves, and labeled them as rebels to kill them to serve as a warning for the other elves, Irina said with a nod. You intend to save them? Mag was a little surprised at the rate the night elves had been spreading and developing. For the tiny sparks of night elves to quickly start a flame showed that the elf tribe was already rotting from the inside. I have to go, Irina said with certainty. All right, I'll go with you then, Mag said. After the breakthrough to the 9th tier, when he had Ozai with him, Mag would be strong enough to protect himself. Even if he could not provide Irina with much help, at least he would be able to assert some awe. Irina looked at Mag and smiled a little. She did not know when she had started getting used to him accompanying her. Their motive this time, other than deterrence, might also be to set a trap for you. We need to be prepared before we go, Mag said with a slight frown. I am stronger than they think in the wind forest. The tree of life would be on my side. Irina appeared very relaxed. That's great. Mag was not in the least doubtful of Irina's perception. The tree of life, as the elves' sacred tree, had already been around for thousands of years. With it on Irina's side, they should have a higher chance of winning. Of course, there were still some preparations to be done. He had to guarantee Irina's safety. Mag looked at the time before going downstairs to prepare for dinner opening. The dinner opening period was the longest and busiest. Where's the crayfish restaurant? How did such a huge place disappear? Tony howled in desperation while standing at a land of ruins. Steve was also stunned. How did the crayfish restaurant disappear in a night? The fishermen who were on their third trip here with pails of crayfish to sell were also dumbfounded when they saw the crayfish restaurant reduced to nothing. They wanted to make a windfall from selling the crayfish to the restaurant, but they did not expect that the crayfish restaurant would disappear today, leaving behind a pile of ruins. Oh no, oh no! The article that we sent out is already confirmed and printed. I reckon they are already on the way to distribution. If the article gains popularity but the crayfish restaurant is gone, do you think the readers will tear me apart? Tony asked Steve as he grabbed the ladder in a fluster. Steve glanced at the pile of ruins, then back at Tony, and nodded while saying, I suggest you should stay low for the time being. He could even imagine how the readers, who rushed over excitedly, would flip upon seeing this pile of ruins. With Tony's influence, there would definitely be many demons coming over to Carapace Island to try the food out. Boss Hades has done me in. He didn't even let me know in advance that he was going to pack up and go. He's just pushing me into a fiery pit. Tony pulled a long face and felt completely at a loss for what to do. I am such an unlucky man. Why don't you go over to Chaos City to hide for a while? When you tide over this period, I will write to you and tell you to come back, Steve suggested. I guess this is the only thing I can do right now. Tony nodded. He could already see how the customers would vent on the pile of ruins and go hysterical when they could not try the crayfish. If his readers came over as well, they'd probably vent their anger the exact same way. I had better not see Boss Hades ever again in my life. Otherwise, I will definitely pin him to the ground and wallop him before making him give me an explanation for all this. Tony clenched his teeth, and turned to leave with a face full of grudge. He had to pack up and leave. Your Highness, you have to mind your behavior, Lola reminded softly while beaming ecstatically. Your teeth. They're fixed. Abraham dashed out of the house in such a hurry that he only had one shoe on. He stared at Vanessa, and asked, Your Highness, are your teeth really fixed? Here, take a look. Vanessa opened her mouth to show Abraham her set of pearly white and clean teeth. They are fixed, indeed. Clean and neat. Abraham's eyes lit up. He clapped agitatedly. This is great. Our little princess has transformed back into a beautiful young lady. If their majesties were to find out, they would definitely be elated. He had watched Vanessa grow up, so he was very clear how much she had suffered because of her dental problems. I am a beautiful young lady to begin with, all right. Vanessa said with a laugh. Did Boss Mag treat it for you? Abraham asked. No, Boss Mag, Big Sister Zixie, and Big Sister Irina treated it for me together. Vanessa shook her head. I see, Princess Irina also helped. Abraham was not too shocked, since he knew that Vanessa and Irina were quite close. Yet, I've already paid Boss Mag and Big Sister Zixie, but not Big Sister Irina. Do you have 100 million copper coins with you? 100 million. Abraham's eyelid twitched. Although it was not a large amount for him, 100 million to cure dental problems seemed like a scam. He had heard about Irina setting up the night elves to rebel against the wind forest. He could understand that she might be tight on cash since she had so many mouths to feed all of a sudden. Since you're not saying anything, I'll write a letter to father and ask him for the money. I think he should have enough, Vanessa said. You don't have to look for His Majesty. It's just 100 million. I'll take it as I'm paying for your dental fees, Abraham said with a smile. He pulled out his leather wallet, took out a 100 million copper coins Buffett bank check, and passed it to Vanessa. Thank you, Uncle Abraham. Vanessa took the check with a smile, and said, then let's go try the insanely spicy hot pot tonight. Insanely spicy. Boss Mag, next time if you're going to bring little Amy out for more than 3 days, please let me know beforehand. I am still rather fit, so I have no problem going around with you. I can even be little Amy's bodyguard. I can also help you settle any problems or help if you meet any formidable ingredients, Crassus said with a smile to Mag as he walked to the entrance the moment the restaurant was open for dinner. He looked rather amiable, but his smile was artificial. Mag raised his brow. Although having Crassus along was like having an extra bodyguard, it was not convenient at all, since their time together as a family of 3 was very precious. If I am around, I will freeze any ill-intentioned fellows who even dare to come within 200 meters radius of Amy, Urian said coldly as he walked over. If there's a chance, I will definitely call both of you along, Mag said with a smile guiltily. After all, he brought Amy out and skipped 5 days of classes. Crassus and Urian were probably thinking of skinning him alive. These 2 masters are really sticky. Amy sighed helplessly with Ugly Duckling in her hands. Crassus and Urian's face turned bright red. They did not think that their most beloved disciple would say that of them one day. The braised crayfish had successfully gained a reputation among customers. This new dish was a pleasant surprise to all the customers, and even the people staying in the inland Chaos City could also enjoy the fresh and delicious taste of crayfish. Matching braised crayfish with beer also quickly spread, and the 2 had almost become a set. A bite of crayfish butter and a gulp of refreshing cold beer was the way to go. Mag handed the entire designated hot pot area over to Rena because she could already easily create the different hot pot soup base while he focused on the other dishes. His workload was thus greatly reduced, and the restaurant's profits went up at the same time. After the dinner operating hours, Mia and the rest left after cleaning up the restaurant. Mag walked to the entrance, and was about to lock the door when a hand stopped him from closing the door. Camilla, you haven't gone back. Mamie Restaurant pulled the door open and saw Camilla, who was standing by the entrance. He was slightly surprised to see her since she was in charge of preparing the ingredients, so she should have left before the restaurant even started operation. I can't sleep. I want to drink and get wasted. Do you want to keep me company? Camilla leaned against the door frame and looked up at Mag. She sounded insistent as though she was not taking no for an answer. Mag looked at Camilla, who was dressed in a black skirt with a high split. Her long legs were exposed, and she was exuding a sensual and alluring aura as she raised her brow slightly. What should he do when a beautiful lady invited him to drink, the kind where they would get wasted? This did not seem like a very friendly situation. Wasted. An oppressing voice sounded from behind Mag. The half-opened door was pulled open, and Irina stood beside Mag with what seemed to be a smile as she said to Camilla, "I'll keep you company." What are you doing here?" Camilla looked at Irina, startled. Her aura was completely gone, and she was just like a mouse caught by a cat. She jumped back subconsciously and looked at Irina in disbelief, and then at Mag again before saying, "What's the relationship between the two of you? What a coincidence, I can't sleep too, and I happen to need someone who would get wasted with me." "Looks like we've found each other," Irina said with a smile. She put her right arm on Mag's shoulder, behaving like a diva as she smiled victoriously. "Then, you two can go ahead." Camilla looked at Mag complicatedly before turning to leave. "Why, are you afraid?" Irina smiled. Camilla stopped in her tracks. She gritted her teeth. "That's too much." She calmed herself down, turned back once again to look at Irina, and relaxedly said, "What is there to be afraid of? Are you going to eat me up?" "That's hard to say. Come on in." Irina smiled meaningfully. When she turned, she glanced at Mag and sat on a random chair. Camilla also glanced at Mag as she walked past him before going over to sit in front of Irina. "Mag, what did I do?" "I didn't do anything at all." "2 cups of beer and any barbecued food," Irina said as she raised her hand. She looked at Camilla, and asked, "Do you have any special requests?" "Me? I'll just drink," Camilla said calmly. Mag stood by the grill and took a bite of a beef ball. He chewed on it and allowed the fragrance to spread in his mouth before taking a sip of beer. The experience of having the chilled beer mix with the piping hot beef ball was such an enjoyment. All the while, he was observing the 2 women who slowly got into the mood after a couple of pints of beer. Alcohol gave one courage. After finishing a few pints, Camilla slowly regained her aura. She looked at Irina, and said, "You, tell me. Why are they making use of me? Am I just a thing that can be used in exchange for benefits to them? Even my father could betray me time and again. Don't you think it's funny?" Irina was also starting to get tipsy. She stabilized herself by holding onto the table, and looked at Camilla as she nodded seriously. "Not just funny. You're pathetic." Camilla was stunned. After that, she started wiping her tears. "Tell me, how am I pathetic?" Mag could guess why Camilla wanted to get wasted tonight based on what she said. It seemed like the return to the Demon Islands this time hit her with quite a huge blow, and she had no one to talk to. Therefore, she came over here in the middle of the night to get wasted. "It's okay. For vampires, these little setbacks are nothing. At least you haven't experienced people watching you eat greens," Irina comforted. "Why don't you give it a try? Maybe you might become the ancestor of vampires." "You mean Uncle Dracula became the ancestor of vampires because he had greens?" Camilla was a little unconvinced. "You'll never know if you don't try," Irina said with a smile. Camilla thought for a while and nodded. After that, she turned her head and shouted to Mag, who was in the kitchen, "Boss, give me a plate of greens." One should try their best to fulfill a drunk woman's request to the best of their ability to avoid trouble. That was the wisdom Mag had accumulated after years of experience. Therefore, he placed a plate of lettuce in front of Camilla, and retreated back to the kitchen to watch the 2 women drink. Camilla stared at the fresh green lettuce on the plate in front of her and squinted. As a high-class vampire from a noble family, she had never eaten any greens, since going vegetarian was considered shameful. "Go on, you might become the first ancestor of vampires after eating it," Irina continued to tempt her. Camilla swallowed. If she really could become the ancestor of vampires, no one would be able to force her to do anything. With power, she would be able to enjoy high status within her race. Even her father would have to be respectful to her. What a tempting vision! Camilla reached out for a piece of lettuce, and slowly put it into her mouth. Mag pulled out a photo stone silently. This was the second vampire that willingly ate greens, and might even be the ancestor of future vampires. It was a scene to be remembered. Crunch! The tender lettuce let out a crisp sound when Camilla bit into it. The strange texture made her a little uncomfortable, but it was not as disgusting as she'd thought. Instead, it was rather refreshing. After making sure that it was a taste that she could accept, Camilla started chewing. Although the texture was a little strange, the leaf actually tasted pretty sweet and refreshing. It was surprisingly good, and was a great way to cleanse her palate, especially after having so much oily food. "How's it?" Irina asked. "I can't believe that it's actually quite good." Camilla nodded as she threw the other half of the lettuce into her mouth. "That was also what Dracula said when he first had greens back then," Irina said with a smile. Mag had a strange expression. He could imagine it, that was how Dracula was talked into eating his first veggie, and he went down the path of a vegetarian from then on. And years later, Camilla would walk down the same path. "Really? Uncle Dracula's and my tastes are rather similar." Camilla nodded before looking at the beef kebab in front of her. She used her chopsticks to pull a piece of meat off the bamboo skewer, and wrapped it up with the lettuce. After that, she put the meat wrap into her mouth. After chewing for a while, her eyes lit up. The oil and fats from the barbecued beef were absorbed by the lettuce, but that did not affect its taste, and instead, it became even more refreshing and delicious. "I can't believe greens are so good. It tastes better wrapping it around the meat," Camilla said with surprise. "Really?" Camilla passed a piece of leaf to Irina. "Try it." Irina wrapped a piece of beef with the leaf and put it into her mouth. The combination of greens and meat indeed made the barbecued beef even more refreshing. It was a rather good way of eating. Irina nodded in approval. "It's really a good way to eat. You are quite talented when it comes to eating greens. I'm expecting a lot from you in the future. It's just wrapping the meat with a piece of lettuce. That's such an overreaction." Mag glanced at the remaining few pieces of raw lettuce at the side. He picked up a piece of lettuce and wrapped 2 pieces of beef with it before putting it into his mouth. It did taste a little like Korean barbecue. After finishing the plate of greens and another 2 pints of beer, the 2 women lay on the table, drunk. Although they were already in La La Land, they still continued the conversation. "Look at that, don't talk about getting wasted. You're just offering yourself to men," Mag muttered to himself as he put his beer mug down and walked out from the kitchen while looking at the 2 women. He carried Irina back into their room, and placed her on the bed. After that, Mag went downstairs and looked at Camilla, who was still laying on the table. It was already so late at night, so he could not possibly throw her out. Who knew if anyone would bring her away and do something to her? But if she were to stay? Mag carried her upstairs, placed a mattress on the floor of the master bedroom, and put her on the ground. It was a simple logic for survival. No matter which room he put Camilla in, there would always be a possibility of him trying to do something to her while she was drunk. However, if he put her in Irina's room, there would be no problem. Irina would not believe that he would have the guts to do anything in front of her. Just as Mag put Camilla down, and was about to go downstairs to pack up, he suddenly felt his arm being grabbed. At the same time, he heard Camilla mumble, "I don't want to marry that good-for-nothing Noke. I'd rather marry the pervert boss than him. Even if he's not good in bed, at least he cooks well." Mag. How was he not good in bed? Mag pulled his arm out as he looked at Camilla sleeping soundly. After that, he went down, baffled. That was really an insult to him. If God wasn't watching, he would prove to her today if he was good in bed. Hee, coward, the system mocked.